a responsibility for something makes my brain not let me be lazy. That's the way my brain works.
No,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
get like kind of laser focused. So,
It
but
helps
yeah,
when you don't have those distractions and that motivation.
yeah. I mean, the motivation is the biggest thing, right? Like that's the number one thing that holds people back from doing anything, whether it's starting a business or anything that they want to pursue. That's in the back of their head is motivation to do it. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll do it next week, and then next week
You,
comes.
you, you just keep pushing it off and off, and it just never happens.
100%, 100%. So it's cool stuff, but we'll go ahead and get started here. Make sure you guys are following on the social media. Got stuff out on there every day. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that jazz. And we've actually found a lot of people that watch podcasts all the time through Twitter, and it's like this. It's like the my weak point with social media. It's not one that like pops in my brain, if that makes sense. But I also like find a lot of news there. I get like notifications. I still don't think about it.
Yeah, it's easy just to push stuff out on that platform pretty easy.
Yeah, it is. It's also the one I found to be the most difficult for me to like we definitely found people that watch podcasts all the time, but also at the same time, like I feel like it's 2 years of tweets going into the abyss. Mostly, like 95% of them.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a possibility.
yeah, and then do you want to bring up what we are working on that we'll have out like semi soon?
Yes, I mean, because trying to get some stuff behind the scenes, but we're trying to do a separate second podcast. Obviously, it's going to be pre-recorded, but it's more like anime focused on some stuff like that. I think the goal is about an hour long podcast for that. That would just a little bit more deep dive instead of trying to like double dip in one long go. Can kind of be a struggle sometimes to do like 4 or 5 hours straight to hit a bunch of different topics. Just because sometimes obviously the big news, some of the video game news might be more relevant. And there obviously is a lot more of it, and then we have a secondary platform for that. We can just focus on that and talk about stuff because we got some good memories and stuff from shows that we've watched.
Yeah,
So definitely look forward to that coming out pretty soon.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. There's so many ways that we can do that too, and pre-recording makes it a little bit easier to be in control of that, and having a shorter time, you're going to be more focused when you're in
Yeah.
like not a crunch, but you've got like a set time that you want to have. So
Straight to the point, not trying to like find BS on your left and right to just like pad time and stuff. Trying to get rid of that filler. Nobody
yeah,
likes filler.
all
I don't.
all kill or no filler, right? As they say. That's
Yeah, right.
I've been trying to find a woman that's all killer no filler, and it hasn't been working out too well.
That seems like a lot of problem. All killer, no filler. Sounds,
I don't
sounds
even
like
know
a
what
good way to end up lost.
I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's been a
Neither
long
do
day
I.
for both of us, so we're just doing it. So some of the things that we're gonna highlight, definitely not everything, but Street Fighter movie, legendary, just literally just an hour and 15 minutes ago, put out on social media the date for the next MonsterVerse movie. We got the Doctor Disrespect stuff. Um, interesting controversy, I suppose, if you're into streaming. We also got the Xbox 360 store is about to close, and I just wanted to bring up the point, and I may be able to pull it up here on the web, but there's a lot of games that are like, there's even more if you go into like the $5 range, but I saw a bunch of stuff I thought was unreal. I'm I'm all for going physical, especially for that system, but for $2, less than $2 for some of these games, like I can't say don't do that to still be able to have access to that game. Um, I
Yeah.
suppose for as long as they allow some that are connected online, the ones that aren't connected, you're going to be fine with. So I guess just do a little bit of research. But I mean, for the price, I would definitely say because that's what I've done. A lot of Switch games that were literally that range because they used to do 99 cent games. I don't know if you remember that, but I used to get a
Yeah, a little bit.
whole bunch of them on the eShop for 99 cents. Then also the unlocked Switch carts are going to start shipping for beta testers. They reached out about covering that, so they're going to be shipping sometime. I think they're doing them like in like small batches for the beta testers. I don't know. I just know they said they're going to start shipping some of them on Monday, so I thought that was kind of cool. But we'll just go ahead and dive into
Yeah.
the news.
I want to say they allegedly are shipping them. I guess we'll believe it when we see it.
Like the debate, allegedly.
I'm just saying at this point, with the amount of how long it's taken, the fact they've just blown people off for so long, I'd be skeptical. But maybe it's a pessimistic way to look at it.
Wait, are you talking about the other cart? Are you talking about the other thing? This is the other company that's trying to correct that company's mistakes.
My bad.
Yeah, we got some peeps in here. I knew that were coming from that actually.
You know what? My statement still stands. Believe it when you see it.
Yeah, no, this is the company that's trying to correct. They've been like very very transparent on Twitter. They aren't even doing pre-orders. They don't want any pre-sales, and like the way that they're going to do sales, they're trying to. You have to go into their website, put in your Twitter handle to even order, and it only lets you get one. So like they're trying to beat any like bots or anything like that.
So you have to have a Twitter account?
Yeah, they're only doing it to people that are have been like in this. I mean, they've already got a bunch of followers, and they haven't been doing this long. But the people that have come from the Mig Switch cart, because they've like kind of openly argued with Mig Switch on Twitter. I talked about some of it before, but not everything. You have to go on there. Just go on the Unlock Switch Twitter account, and you'll see. But like they're putting updates every single day, and I don't know if you remember, I told you they were printing like a bunch of carts. They're already on version 5 because they're trying to like perfect everything for have it long term. So they're already on version 5 of their batches that have only been for them testing. So like Mig Switch should have did not shipping out a V2 cart after I got my freaking order when I ordered it. How long ago? I can't even remember how long I ordered. I think
it's like months at this point.
Oh yeah, I think it's January or February.
So it's been like 5-6 months at this point.
Yeah, that's been a whole thing right there for
sure. No, yeah, you're right. That is definitely crazy.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and dive into the news?
No, yeah, I guess we can just dig right into it. All raw, no lube. It's just the way we like it. Good help myself. So there's some news coming down about as far as Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. They're saying that it'll be more authentically American, is what the devs are saying. Obviously, from what you're saying, the next Cyberpunk game is codenamed Project Orion. No idea the timetable for this. I assume there's going to be another. I don't know if we're expecting another game for like The Witcher to come out before this, but obviously they do want to make a sequel. They say I think Cyberpunk is obviously a uniquely American story. I'm like, takes place in America. Like, Night City is what, Northern California? I think it's like the area it takes place in.
Yeah.
So like technically it's within the United States. Well, modern day. It's the lore itself is kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. Gotta play the.
But obviously they mentioned. Yeah, so they went and say they mentioned it's got a lot of like punk energy, and the tabletop game was written by an American, so it just seems to do it in America makes sense. But I mean, it's not like the cyberpunk genre itself is tied to America. But if this just signals they obviously want to. Do they want to keep it in Night City, or they want to explore the American cyberpunk world more potentially before they branch off to other stuff?
That's what I thought was kind of interesting, because they're it's like already kind of it's its own thing, but I don't know, it kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, what exactly do you mean? Because it's already like set in the U.S. kind of.
Yeah,
but I mean, maybe there's more they want to do that we don't really know about. I guess it seemed like an odd statement to me.
Yeah, so it looks like they're signaling that, obviously they want to keep it in the U.S. I can't imagine it's going to stay in Night City. They're probably going to want to obviously do something else. But, I mean, who knows what they want to do, because it's one game. There's a lot of lore in this game. The tabletop game came out, 30, 40 years ago at this point? In the 1980s?
Old. It's very old. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, as well as the cyberpunk genre as a whole. It's been around just as long and developed, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what exactly, but as far as we know, it's going to stay in the United States, or what we no as the United States today at the very least. And then I guess the other question is, is it going to take place in the past, in the future, about the same time frame? Like, what's the story they're going to after? I can't say I know enough about the lore of the Cyberpunk tabletop game to know a whole lot about where they could potentially go, but it's the lore is very interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what they have to come. Because I thought outside of its butchered launch and its performance issues, the game itself was a really good, enjoyable game. Decently written story and stuff like that. So I definitely expect more great things out of CG Project Red. Just don't pull the Bethesda, it's a buggy miss at launch type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking about is you got like the tabletop game before and then the tabletop game after too. Like this video game came
Yeah.
out because there was one I can't remember. I feel like we read maybe the summary or at least
I
talked
thought
about it
they
once.
were maybe not the tabletop, but they updated a new like a book, like a lore book, kind of like for if you're playing like Dungeons and Dragons, they just keep updating the
Oh,
actual
yeah.
like the Dungeon Master book with everything else, and they update the rules and a bunch of other stuff and lore, and you
It could be
use
that.
that to essentially develop the world in the game and stuff like that.
It could be
So I
that. That
figured
would make
that's what they did.
Yeah, that I mean that makes sense now that you say it. I didn't even think about that. That makes sense. So I didn't know if it had like additional lore because now we got the anime and there's books too, right? That we brought up, like
Yeah, I thought that
post
was the
video
book
game.
that we were talking about. The anime is kind of its own. It's like a side story to Night City, but it's definitely its own self-contained story that has no greater impact at all in the world. So it's definitely nice, but I can't imagine that causing problems.
No.
Like to see another story. Obviously, it would have to take place with completely different characters. I don't know if we've talked about that in the past, but it's probably going to be again a really dark, depressing show. If you've not seen it, it's worth watching, but it's really depressing.
Yeah, it is. It's very good though. It's very good.
Oh yeah,
I love
really
it.
good show.
He said that's an interesting choice of words to say more authentically American. Are they talking about the people and how they interact with the character? And then said Division One is pretty authentic American since the New York City backdrop is close to how the actual city looks. So yeah, I don't really know what it means. I guess it'd be interesting to see what they say like moving
Yeah, I don't
forward,
know.
but it seemed a little
The only thing
odd.
that signals to me is that the next game's going to take place in America, whether that's modern day America or in game America.
I remember
I think it
when
just
they
signals it's going to take place somewhere in the North American continent, probably.
I feel like there was I remember when Ubisoft announced I think it's Far Cry 5 that takes place in America.
Far Cry 5. I
I
thought it
think
took
it's
place
5.
up. It's supposed to be like what, Montana, or that's where it's
Yeah, yeah,
you
it's
expect it to take place. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like there was like some controversy around something they said. I feel like it was something stupid they said. It's Ubisoft, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Literally everything they say is controversial at this point.
Yeah, I feel like they said
When do they?
something really stupid that
When
I even
did
thought was
they?
dumb.
I just can't remember. I remember not really caring for the game when it came out. Like I
Yeah,
played
I
like
feel
2 hours and I dropped it after that.
I mean, this is my opinion. I feel like that's potentially one of the worst ones in the series. I enjoyed Far Cry 6 more, and most people are like, it's okay, right? I think it's fine too. I think it's just like
Yeah.
maybe an
I mean,
above average game, which is fine for me. I don't need everything to be a 10 out
it's
of 10.
it's no Far Cry Primal, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to top that goat game.
That game's interesting. Um, I mean,
Definitely.
I feel like none of the games that came even close to Far Cry 3. That game is in my top 5 games of all time.
The problem with a lot of game
So good.
series that originally started like very obviously like a trilogy, like they peaked with like the third game.
Oh
Not
yeah,
every series, but you think of that.
yeah.
Think of like Gears of War. That series obviously peaked with 3, but it told its story in 3.
Yeah.
I guess technically Mass Effect 3 wasn't be the best. I'd say 2, but Mass Effect 3 obviously had a decent story and has arguably one of the best DLCs of every video game that I've ever played in the Citadel DLC. I was trying to think of some other trilogy games that just would come to the top of my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to look for something real quick.
You're
I don't know, maybe the third Horizon game will be like the best of that trilogy.
I was just like so like I don't. It wasn't bad the new, but it was just like did not capture me the way that the first game did. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, definitely fair enough. No, I get, yeah, I mean, I guess The Witcher 3,
Oh
the
yeah,
third one was by far the best,
that's a
but
big
the other
one.
two were So they're different games and
They're
how they play, and they're obviously
completely
really older
different.
games.
Yeah, those
They're
games
like
are so
mid
different.
2000s, like PC games, straight up. That's how they play.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the start of Assassin's Creed because it's a whole different game than those first. What would
Oh
you
yeah,
say?
it's
The first
nothing like
two,
it.
or is it first three? You would say. I think it's
At
first
least
two, but
at least the first two, because those are the only two that I played significant time outside of. I beat one. I played a decent amount of two, and then it was, I believe, Odyssey was the only other Assassin's Creed game that I played, and it was okay, but it felt like the standard Ubisoft. Hey, here's a bunch of stuff. Go do everything, and it's just like just kind of feels not a good way to do open world, and I think they just put too much in the world personally, but
I
that's
think
just me.
it's. I mean, I know we talked about it a few times with the Valhalla thing, like where most people didn't like that. I liked it. Could have been that's all I had for my new Xbox at the time type of thing. But I seem to like it, but I definitely agree because that game I feel like was kind of egregious with that, where there's too much to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Too
the problem with
much.
Ubisoft. The tower. Oh, here's a bunch of stuff. And if you kind of have any kind of like completionist mindset, you get tied up doing
Bothers
stuff that
you.
doesn't matter. It has no story, just waste time, and then you just get burnt out before you get like halfway through the game. I feel like that's what happened to me.
If you play Valhalla, I think most people would say with that game, it's because it felt like every single area you go to, there's like multiple things that you can do,
Yeah, I felt like
and
the same game again, just different story, and I was like, I immediately just got bored and tired of it, and I just quit.
it kind of, like I said, I enjoyed it. I didn't play, I didn't play Odyssey, and I didn't play. Is that the one in Rome is
Odyssey?
or what
No, Odyssey's the one in Greece.
Greece? Sorry, okay, Greece.
Yeah, and
That
Origins is the as far as like the reboot is ancient Egypt, and then obviously Valhalla is the Norse Viking
yeah.
lands ish. I can't. I'm sorry. Your countries are just insignificant. I can't remember their names.
Assassin's Creed Unity, he said. See, I did not play Unity. There's there's I played a lot of the weird ones that nobody's
So
played or cares about.
I just want to say it's probably the whole what's that the Swedish Norway is the whole Viking area pretty much. I guess maybe a little bit of
Sweden,
Finland.
yeah. Yeah, Sweden, Norway, that area. So I like that type of setting and like lore quite a bit. So it kind of bums me that a lot of people is just like, it's a pretty crap game. But I feel like it wasn't just, hey, it's a crap game, because I don't think it's a crap game. But I do feel like they had a lot of that Ubisoft stuff implemented too, with the buying every day. You could, like, if you ran out of the end game stuff, you could buy with real money, like those
Yeah,
chests, that type of deals.
not a
Um,
fan of that. It's single player game. There, you shouldn't have microtransactions like
yeah,
that.
it had microtransactions. Um, which I like. I've already said I've never bought a microtransaction on a single player game in my life, and I can count on both hands the amount of times I've ever spent real life money on multiplayer games. I feel like it's been like three, maybe four times ever. I don't do it. Um, no,
Yeah.
I have always just chose to opt out, and like there was a lot of those games. I don't know if you remember. Mobile does it a lot too. I know that, but where like you have to wait 24 hours or whatever, or you can buy to like make a
Oh, yeah,
move
it's
or
that's
like do
straight
something.
straight mobile phone tactics.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's shouldn't
that's
belong in a single player game.
I've never fell for any of that personally, but I know people do, and that they make money from it. So it's just
It's
not
like,
a.
oh, it's 99 cents here, it's a dollar there, it's 150 there,
It
and
adds
it very
up, man.
quickly adds up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
Yeah, for sure. There's some kind of weird audio thing coming through. I don't know if it's just my headset, but like when you're
No,
talking.
I've been hearing the same thing, but I don't know
Oh,
where it's coming from.
yeah, that's not good. Go ahead and go on to the next thing. I'm gonna see if I can check something here real quick.
No, fine. So I guess the next thing, we got some stuff from Konami. So Konami producer would love to work with Hideo Kojima on Metal Gear Solid, which obviously Kojima's worked on a lot of Metal Gear Solid games, and the moment he steps away, that franchise just completely implodes in on itself. So my first thought was, are we gonna turn Metal Gear Solid into a walking simulator a little bit? we got with some of its other works.
I hope not.
But I was trying to figure out where exactly. So producer Norikai Okumura expressed his admiration for Kojima during a live stream. He just said, just speaking for myself personally, I'd like nothing better than to work with Mr. Kojima and the rest of the team again. If that could happen, it would be the dream. I'm sure it would be really good. I just can't imagine Kojima wanting to come back to work with Konami, and whether or not Konami would actually, want that to happen. With at the time, it was reported a really soured relationship that just completely went south really quickly. I don't know if you remember any of that.
No,
It's been a few years.
I remember. Yeah, I definitely remember. I don't know. It would definitely, like, he is for sure an iconic developer and
Yeah.
team lead and all the different roles that he's had through the years. But it's like, I don't know, like, what's the last game called that he did? Oh, Death Stranding. Just threw me off. The game was just like, just wasn't for me.
It's better just to watch a video of it at this point.
Try moving your auxiliary jack, or like maybe plug it in and out, because it's only coming through when you talk for some reason. I know mine does that sometimes. I've got a cheap cable and I'm using instead of the good headset, the cheap one wants to work better, but it's one of those things. So I definitely think it would probably be a dream for a lot of people to work with him, but hopefully,
Is everything better?
Didn't hear it when you just said that. So
Okay, I guess maybe it was a bad connection on my side.
yeah, I don't hear it now. Okay, cool.
The joys of technology.
Yeah, good stuff. So we've also got okay, so I thought this was pretty cool. Now we've kind of both talked and pretty much agree on the Marvel's kind of just ran itself into the ground. But
Yeah.
I do think the little trailer, the 1 minute trailer they put out today was pretty cool. I watched it twice, and it looks good. I mean, like this, it looks like to me, Jiminy Christmas, they just keep going off. It's Amber Alerts. It looks to me like it might be one of the best Marvel things to come out in a long time. Didn't care about the Marvels. Didn't care about. I don't remember even what the last TV show was. I feel like the last 5 I haven't cared about, or maybe more than that. But this legitimately looks good, and I think it looks good because they've got Hugh Jackman back. I feel like they probably have, just because of that fact, probably put the most resources into this movie. Like,
yeah, it gives them some legitimacy because he's obviously, you think of Wolverine, you think of him.
Yeah.
But I know the trailer brings back, I believe it's who is it, Sawtooth?
Yeah.
That's his name.
Yeah.
In the movies,
Sabretooth?
The original X-Men, yeah, Sabretooth. Sorry,
yes.
I misspoke. But it felt like he was gonna have more of a prominence in those movies, and he ultimately was just kind of not really all that relevant.
Yeah.
I think he was more relevant in the actual comics, but I can't say for sure because I've never actually read the comics. I've only actually seen the X-Men movies.
What was the first? Is it the second one we saw him in first, or was it the first movie? Because I remember
it was
like
the
in the
first one.
snow. It could have been. I could be confusing. I remember like where he was at the scene. I was a kid when that came out, but they were like in the snow.
Yeah, so it's the original movie, and then in the origin movie, he got recast to somebody else, and that whole movie was a mess. But
I'll tell you what, the only good thing to come out of that, and probably 90% of people or anybody that's played it will say, but that game for X-Men Origins is way better than it should be. Like, way better than it should be. It is.
With a movie that's absolute crap.
Yeah, and there's a few of those examples out there, but that game is ridiculously good. Like, I went back and played it again a few years ago to check out because a lot of people started talking about it again. I was like, oh yeah, this was as good as I remember. Like, this is good, but can't say the same for the Scorpion King game. That's that
or the movie as a whole.
I played through that game so many times as a kid, and I started to know after like the 5th time I beat it or something, like, oh, this is pretty crap. But like, you play what you get at that point in time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there weren't many options, especially on the GameCube. I feel like games got They might not have, but I just feel like around that time they may have got more expensive. But if not, it was just I got them a whole lot less for some reason. And I feel like rental
Yeah.
stores didn't have nearly as many options for GameCube games like they would have 64 or Super Nintendo. I feel like
I
it
guess
was
it
just
depends,
a
hit or
small
miss on the Warren visiting games for, but it's also probably hit or miss on
local.
the location in the store
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah, definitely.
How many
But
people went, just didn't return their games?
what did you think of the little trailer that we got today?
That looks interesting. I'm still skeptical just because it's a Disney owned property at this point, but I mean, it's got potential. This might be the last good movie that Marvel puts out probably ever at this point, but that's definitely a biased opinion just because I don't like Disney.
I don't necessarily like them anymore either. I mean, I'm definitely not happy with the company. They've ruined Star Wars for me. I haven't had anything good to say
I think the
about them
biggest
necessarily in
problem
a long time.
with Marvel, because like they put out, at least when they first started with Marvel, they put a lot of good movies, but I think they just got to the point where they're just pumping out too many movies.
Oh yeah,
Is like half their problem.
oversaturation is real, man. With everything.
Oversaturation. You're trying to make as much money, so the writing is like the lowest common denominator. So it's like a baseline level. So it's just not, they're not good movies. So I think that's part of the problem. And then when you just add bad writers on top of it, and then people just stop going to the movies after a while. Once they continue to see bad movies, everyone keeps talking about it, between people not liking the movies they put out, and then now that the whole direct to streaming thing is a thing or has been looked at, it's the whole movie theater movie going experience kind of going the way of the dinosaurs at this point. I would hope not. I do enjoy going to the movies, but it's not always a reason to go half the time. Or the small movie theater near me doesn't get creative with what movies it actually does show. But
I mean, most people are going to agree with you because I feel like probably the movie theaters probably get about. I want to say I'm just going to guess. I'm sure there's a stat out there for sure because this would be easy to track, but at least 75% less people than like in history.
yeah,
of
because half the
theaters.
time I mean I also go in and don't always go with like the ideal time, but even when like a new movie comes out, I've gone to some decently large theaters and it's not even half full. It's like maybe
Yep.
a quarter at that.
Yep. The
Like on an
last
opening weekend for like a brand new movie, it's crazy how
it is.
small some, like, you can occasionally, especially if you're in a decent area, you can fill up a theater, get close to filling up, but that's not gonna last really quickly.
Yeah, it's
But I've also,
people
even
have
for
too
like
many options now, man. Like everything comes
yeah,
streaming way quicker. Like we're going to be talking about one in a little bit. It's I feel like
yeah, but
it's been a bit of time for that one, but I feel like there are some like franchises where they do give enough time to like get everything they can in the theater.
properly advertise it and stuff.
Yeah,
But I think the other problem is just the theater experience in general is they're just too hooked on Hollywood and they just don't put out that many good movies. I think the other problem is I think there's other emerging markets, whether it's Japan with some of their animation, whether it's South Korea or Chinese movies. Obviously, India's got its own scene. You see some occasional good movies come out, like maybe like France. It's kind of hit or miss. I just think a lot of theaters don't necessarily dig into alternate markets. They just, hey, here's Godzilla Kong. It's gonna be in theater for 3 months, but those last 2 months we're not filling seats. So like, what's the point? But there's times even on weird nights where I've seen more people for maybe a short run or like a limited run, like a foreign film or like some of those Ghibli movies. They might be in theaters for like 2 days, but like I've seen more theaters packed for that than I have seen for most other movies outside of maybe a single big release opening weekend movie. So I'm just
yeah,
saying, hey, maybe there's a market elsewhere that you're just not looking. Like there's good movies out there, they're just not always mostly not coming out of Hollywood today because the writing's just kind of dropped off.
yeah. Man, I don't know. There's so much that goes into it, and it's kind of disappointing because it's one of those things that like is a staple of us growing up, and just one of those things like you kind of think that will never go away, but where we're at now, like you know, it makes sense. Like most people are, if they can access it 3 months later. I do that with a lot of movies. I certainly don't want to go to the theater for everything. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like,
Yeah.
it's already out here, or I'll just wait, a few months until it's on there because it doesn't take long anymore.
Yeah, so it's been almost a year at this point. Well, it'll be a year back in I guess October. But the last time I went to a theater that was like completely packed, it was like a re-showing of the old Lord of the Rings trilogy movies, where it's
Oh, yeah, that makes
the
sense.
the third one didn't have as many people. Like the first one and the second one might as well have been like straight packed out. Like there's like the people. I think there's a market for people want to go to the theaters, but there's no movies to want to actually go and see, which I think is just the problem. Because you did like a limited run air of a movie that came out 20 years ago. Like if you said, hey, if your local movie theater said, hey, we're gonna and probably advertise like, hey, we're gonna show Starship Troopers or something like that. Guarantee you, it would be a very packed theater. Obviously, because it's gonna be like a limited run type thing. But these are old movies that you may have not been able to see like on the big screen. Now you get the chance to, because either you weren't alive back then, or you're just really young and you wouldn't have remembered or been old enough to see certain movies. So I think just because we're talking about, I think the movie theater experience is still alive. There's just no reason to go.
Yeah, I get that. Let me know if my audio's better. I guess Matt said he could barely hear me, so I want to make sure. I do want to make sure it's good, especially for audio listeners. I turned up the gain quite a bit. Now I'm in the red. I never go in the red, so let me know if that's better. I can't really hear myself, but yeah, hopefully that's good. I turned it up a good chunk, so. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as that goes, like, yeah, no, I agree with you. Uh, I guess we'll just wait and see with this movie, but
Yeah. Plus, it obviously, how much they charge for popcorn and a drink on top of the movies itself. It's just expensive to go. Like I've watched a movie by myself at a regular matinee, and I get like a medium popcorn and drink, and I feel like I'm spending almost $30 combined for
oh,
just
I
myself.
took me and my daughter, and we spent 40, so
Like
exactly
that's the other
40,
It's
and one
it's
drink a
expensive.
piece and one popcorn.
Yeah,
Um,
now this makes sense. When I used to be even like
it's a
10,
whole
20 years ago when I
thing.
was a kid, your parents like, we're gonna go eat and we're gonna buy snacks beforehand. We're not spending money even 20 years ago, at the movies or something like that. Or that's like your mom and dad would get a drink, or you'd have like a water, you get something small, and that's like, we're gonna get a single like medium popcorn and we're just gonna share it because you're not gonna eat all this and it's just too expensive for what we're paying.
Yeah, it's a
I,
whole
I,
like
I
event. I know for us it
yeah.
definitely was, because I mean it's more expensive, which is ridiculous. I think that's one of the things that they should have cut down a long time ago, because everybody's got a cost to run, but I feel like theirs has just always been high, and it
Well,
does
yeah,
not
because they don't
cost
make.
that.
Oh, they don't make any like pretty much no money off the ticket sales. Like they have to. The
Don't they
theaters
make?
themselves pretty much
I thought they made like
not
a
enough to.
set amount on.
I guarantee you, it's negligible compared to what they make as far as concessions. Like they have to make their money off the concessions.
Yeah, but I mean, there's got to be another model or something that they can do. I know that there were, they tried doing like those movie clubs, because I remember AMC, I had their club for a year. I think I can't remember how many movies I actually saw. But they had like a club where you could just pay like a set amount and you could go see the movies either discounted or they were free. But I know that, yeah, Movie Pass, AMC Movie Pass, that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
But other chains like Fandango even had a like movie thing that you could like buy their stuff and get stuff discounted all year. That type of thing. So,
Yeah. So I guess I was reading somewhere else, but I guess they're saying potentially, at least in America, the studios usually get 60% of the proceeds at a minimum. But I guess it comes down to distribution rights and agreements. But even then, obviously, they're making the bulk off the tickets. Well, if you're not selling tickets, you're not making a lot of money. And if you're selling like an $8 ticket and you're making less than half, you're making like 40% of like an $8 ticket. It's like what, 350 or something like that. I'm bad at math off the top of my head, but it's not a lot of money.
yeah, but my thinking is they're making 350, but you've got like, mostly full theaters, especially when those new movies come out that opening
Yeah,
weekend
but
or
the
the
problem
first
is
3
it
weekends.
doesn't last that long. It
But there's new
definitely
movies constantly, especially then. But no, I feel
But
like
there's not a. But I don't know how many times I've seen new movies, and then you can go online and see like pre-order a brand new movie on an opening weekend. It might not sell, like it might fill up half of a handful of showtimes, and
yeah.
then after that weekend, there's just nobody going to see it though. and they're still like running that movie, and then you have to cost like if you have like two people in a theater. I've been in theaters by myself. Like that's not enough to probably for the electricity to run the movie itself that you're making a profit. You're probably making a loss off that. And how many like matinees or late night movies do some theaters show that they're probably losing money by just having it shown at certain times?
There's definitely something there because there's a reason that I mean, like Fandango would have been like a different example. Uh, you're good, Johnny. Fandango would have been like a different example because that's a website like about movies and track and theater. I don't know. It's like just a movie. I always used it to find movie theaters, different movie theaters, but like you can go on there and they like you can see movie reviews, and I don't know that they actually own anything, but they had a like movie club thing, and then I remember at one point Disney had a theater movie club thing for I think a very short period of time. But what's the other big chain other than AMC? Because I'm trying to think. Like always go to a small like
AMC is like the big one I know, but I think near me, at least in like the Salt Lake Valley, Cinemark's a big movie brand.
Yep, Cinemark. Yep, because we've got
I usually go to one of those theaters just because it's nicer.
Yeah, and they've got
it's kind of hit or miss what they show. But they also at least in Salt Lake Valley they tend to show decently high amount of like as far as like anime movies and stuff. But they're usually on like limited runs and stuff like that. But they're one of the few theaters that does that. And then there's a theater that I usually go to. They usually show at least one or two like Indian movies or like the whole Southeast Asian movies and stuff like that. Like they show a decent amount of like just foreign films in general.
Cinemark is the one that always has anime movies for me. Like they're the ones that shows like the other stuff. Like it'd be anime releases like Japanese. Big
like they just announced
releases.
Apparently starting today that's like a limited run of the Blue Lock the movie, which is apparently like a soccer anime movie. It's just one I pulled up on their site, and they'll do both like English dubbed and English subbed and stuff like that. Like they're not in theaters long because obviously they're really limited audience, but they'll at least show certain different movies to try to bring in a different audience, because it's like I know a lot of people it's like, yeah, you could watch certain stuff on TV at home, but like, what's it to watch a movie like on the big screen? Even if you're just going once for maybe like an IP or a franchise that you're a big fan of, like especially like with the Ghibli films. Like when I was able to watch my favorite film, Castle in the Sky, which I think came out before I was even born. Like it was like an amazing experience. Like I would definitely go and see that.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the other big one that I was thinking of was Regal Cinemas is pretty big.
We've got Regal,
yeah. They're actually above Cinemark. Apparently, it goes AMC, Regal Cinemas, and then Cinemark. So it's interesting. But I just also wanted to bring up that there are still a bunch of those movie like subscription clubs around. Apparently, so. There's a Movie Pass, a documentary about Movie Pass. That was like a whole thing because that came out shortly after, because I worked at Blockbuster till it closed, and it came out shortly after that, after I left there. I remember, and everything affected Blockbuster, man. The movie theater stuff with like even stuff like that, those movie clubs. I remember like my manager was really upset about that, and then. I remember when they were trying to do the Blockbuster Express, and my manager thought, do you remember that? It was Redbox for Blockbuster. Yeah, they were.
And it just failed miserably.
It failed, and then, so he thought that Blockbuster Express was going to take all the business from the actual Blockbuster. That wasn't the case. The Blockbuster Express just failed. There was a red box. There was, I think, 2 red boxes in town, one Blockbuster Express, and it just did like 90% the business that the Express did.
Crazy.
And then Blockbuster tried to do a streaming service as well. I don't know if you know that, because I was there when they were trying to do these things.
I just got to it too late.
Yeah, well, here's the crazy thing. I don't know if you know this, but Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix. They went to him with an offer. I think it was $1 million. Boy, do they hate themselves now. Talk about, I'm serious. There's a whole thing.
Missed opportunity.
Talk about a missed opportunity, man. Like that is potentially one of the biggest ones in history. That's crazy. I can't even imagine. But yeah, they turned it down. Uh, and I remember when that happened, and they just blew up. Like they had just started the streaming thing with the DVDs still, and it was brand
Yeah.
new when they went to them, and they were kind of like they were struggling, but it just that streaming just took off, and people thought,
Yeah.
oh, nobody's watching that. Like that was like the whole thing. Nobody's
Your
watching that
inability
crap.
to be your inability to be creative and see in the future. You see a lot of big companies. Think of like Blockbuster did the same thing. It's like with Sears and like Kmart. These companies that don't exist anymore. They just failed to adapt and to be creative. They got stagnant and they eventually went out of business.
Phew. I mean, that's just that's such a big one. But the movie pass thing was interesting. I tried that out. It wasn't bad, but I forget why that kind of like died out. But apparently, I have to watch that documentary because that does interest me a lot. I'm like interested in the whole kind of behind the scenes of that side of the movie business too, because I worked at Blockbuster and I feel like I was like just super connected to it because there was a point in time where like movies were like my favorite thing above all
Yeah.
else for like a long time. Like, I had 1,200 and some physical movies and I was going to the theater all the time. I was going, what was it? Thursdays, I think I would go for the new movie releases in the store. I can't remember. And I would be there in the morning to go get a Blu-ray and like stuff
Yeah,
like
like
that.
I know I was never big on going to the theaters, but I used to, buy a lot of movies because I think there was like an FYE was one of the big ones. You
Oh
just
yeah.
buy used movies
Yep.
for like super cheap, like under $5. So you spend like $20 and have like 10 movies, especially if you got them on a sale or something like that. So I used to do that, but then you end up buying a lot of bad movies and you're never gonna watch it again. It just sits on a shelf collecting dust.
Yeah, it became a point in time where it was a pain in the butt because I had them like double stacked. I just wasn't touching them anymore. And like
Yeah,
kind of sucks now because like a lot of those I wish I would have there's some of those I do wish I would have kept and it wasn't like a lot. I'm not like, bummed out about all of it. I was then, but then it was also like, they're just sitting there and taking up a ton of space. Um
yeah.
so it was just kind of a pain to get to the movie I wanted to find, even alphabetized the way that I had it because I had it. It was a little confusing.
You speak of that. There was a product that I know my dad had for a few years. I think it was like built by Pioneer. But it was around the time I was like, hey, you got a bunch of movies? Well, just take them out. And it used to be like
Oh,
so
I
you
know
would
what you're gonna
slot a
say.
bunch of movies in
Yep.
and it would spin around. So it'd be properly labeled. So it's like, hey, I want to find this movie. And it would just automatically go through this little sorting thing with X amount of movies and automatically play it, which I thought was kind of like neat. But even then, they're trying to like combat the idea of like, freeing up storage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still like when it comes to games and movies, I still like having physical, but I'm far more selective about it. Like especially because I like like a lot of my stuff that's still physical is anime related.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's series that I like and I know I'm gonna want to watch it. And obviously with the whole Crunchyroll problem, you can't trust streaming to be the solution because eventually, hey, this movie
Right.
you really like or this show you like, now you can't find it anywhere legally, and your only option is to maybe find a expensive out of print and hopefully it's in decent shape, or you've got to hit the high seas because it's the only way to legally not legally but the only way to find a way to actually watch something.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think there
that's the
still is a place for
problem.
physical, but you just have to be more selective about what you get.
Yeah, when you're
you know
not,
it,
that becomes a problem. Like you said, most of it's anime related. Like you kind of focused on one thing. Like I'm not gonna
yeah.
buy everything, but
So like I
there's
might watch something initially streaming and it's like I like this, okay, I want this on physical. This is trash, I don't care to actually own it, I don't care to watch it again.
yo. I was also going to bring up. It's crazy because I'm going to grab it, and I was waiting. I had the Blu-ray. I had it when it came out. I remember picking it up. It wasn't like anything great. It was upscaled. They didn't do any work to it, so it wasn't much better than the DVD, realistically. So it wasn't like a big thing. But I saw that Dragonheart is going to 4K Blu-ray. I go and click on it. It's $40. $40 on Amazon.
Yeah,
It
that feels
just
like an issue of they want to make money, but they don't expect to sell a lot. So that to compensate for the cost of
yeah.
not selling a lot, they're just charging more. And I feel like that's a potential market when it comes to physical media. Either you're going to start seeing more limited releases, or it's going to be more expensive, or maybe physical doesn't go away, but when it comes to stuff on Blu-rays, it's more of like you pay a little bit more if you want it physical, and then they actually go through and actually burn the disc and make it and package it and kind of send it off to you. I think is a maybe a potential in the future, but that obviously when you're not making something in bulk, it drives the cost up, obviously.
Right. They got Walmart. I was looking at this one specifically. A Walmart limited edition steelbook they were releasing too, and obviously the steelbook is limited there. Um, but yeah, I feel like if they do that, if the case, because what happens is then there's already companies doing that. Let me put that out there first, because I don't want to like say any name. There's tons of companies already doing that limited run type of stuff. There were companies bringing over movies that were stuck on VHS over to Blu-ray for like, they've been doing it for at least 10 years. Some of these, and there's companies that are putting these movies on VHS too and releasing them. I don't know if you saw, people are trying to sell it for like $150 right now, but let me look it up. Walmart, they just released a new VHS in Walmart, and it's of that, what's it called, Terrorizer, of that clown. I can't remember what it's called.
I'm not sure.
Oh, Terrifier. Sorry, Terrifier. Okay, so it's actually like made through Bloody Disgusting, like the horror website, but it's in like Walmarts all over, and people are going there, and Walmarts are getting like one or none of them. Yeah, or like, just a couple. I think the most I saw somebody there was 3, and they were in like either in stacks of like 3, I believe. So larger locations might have a few more. But
Yeah.
a lot of Walmarts don't have it. So people are like trying to scalp it, and like people are like posting them in this. The only reason I know, people are posting them in these Facebook groups. People are getting mad, man. Cause these guys that are like, like a community of like VHS fans. I'm in a bunch of VHS groups, and then there's these guys that post in here all the time, but also are coming back in here and posting this VHS for like $150. It's like this guy that you talk to. So it's just like, it's absurd. I think it's absurd to me. Don't ever pay $150 for something scouts like that.
It definitely is.
That's stupid. Hopefully nobody buys that, but I thought that was interesting. First time Walmart has had a VHS in probably, what, how long do you think it's been? 15, 20 years? Something like that?
Feels like it. I haven't watched a VHS. I've no way to watch a VHS in over a decade, so.
It looks like it's at 1,700 plus Walmart stores across the country. So that's realistically not that many, obviously.
No.
So a lot of them aren't getting it, and people are really disappointed. And I went looking for it just because it was the novelty of it, really. It was just kind of cool. And to see this like new movie brought over to VH, I was very curious on what this looks like. So I'll find it, hopefully, somewhere to actually like judge the quality of it on VHS. I'm very curious if they like took the time to really put it on there, if that makes sense, instead of just transferring it and it having a bunch of issues or whatever. I haven't seen anybody actually talk about watching the movie yet, because most of these people that are buying it are keeping it sealed and aren't actually putting it in, even though they're in like VHS fan groups and stuff. So that is interesting.
No, yeah, definitely.
But to speak on like the limited thing, if people come in and do that on like a wider scale, it's going to become like a limited run games type of deal.
Yeah.
So these are going to be $40 or more.
Yeah.
If they do that. So that's like the problem.
I think that the spinoff, obviously there's a lot of movies on like DVD that just have, dozens or hundreds of copies.
Sure.
Or not hundreds of thousands of copies at the very least. Though, the more time goes on, it's gonna decay. But I mean, unless like physical media has like a major comeback as a result of issues when it comes to streaming and rights like that, I think you're eventually going to have a wave like that. It's like, hey, if you want it, you're not buying like 10 movies. You just like, you want one movie. So you're going to periodically like, okay, I'll fetch a little bit higher money because I want this on physical media. I just don't know how else you negate that cost unless you're selling a bunch of movies. But, physical is just kind of, whether you want it to go the way of the dinosaur, that's the way it's going. If not, it's being, forcefully pushed that way in favor of streaming.
Yeah.
Because you're going to own nothing and be happy, according to Ubisoft.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're going to have a pretty little what do they call that?
Yeah, stream
Xbox.
box, you don't actually own it, and then if they decide to revoke your access or just get rid of that game or that movie, now it's gone. You've got no legal way to access it, which is the problem.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. It's going to
And
be interesting to bring up something here in a bit, though. I'm kind of excited about it, related to
yeah,
that.
no, but I just want to say, like, the only thing that encourages piracy is lack of access to something. Like, if you don't allow people a legal avenue, that's like the main thing that drives piracy, that you hate so much. But we hate piracy. It's like, okay, then make this easier to access, and you don't. So it's like you're just shooting yourself in the foot on that.
That's the big thing. I mean, that's why I say about like the taking away the virtual console, Wii and Wii U, is that like people want to buy these games and will pay money for these games.
Yeah.
You're not putting them on there.
It's like these old Pokemon games that for whatever reason you refuse to let people play. It's so frustrating.
They would make so much money.
They want people to pirate their games. Is literally all they're asking for, because you refuse. Because as of right now, unless it's like the handful of games on the Switch, there's no legal way to access any of the games that they. At one point, you could have access to most of the games when you had the 3DS eShop.
Right.
Because the games were still in print, or you had the Switch eShop for some of the older games. You at least have a way to play, X generation games. But now that those are all out of print, that store is gone. There's no legal way to play anything pre Switch, which is really frustrating.
Let me ask you if you know a solution, because actually Luigis just brought this up the other day, and he was like, "Hey, do you know if you can still access the Pokemon Home?" He's like, "Is there like a way to still do that?" And I was like, I researched it, and apparently, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, because Pokemon Home is actually on the Switch. If he's talking about the one for the 3DS,
yeah,
the Pokemon Trade, it is if you already have it on a Switch before the eShop shut down.
That's what I
which
thought.
I do on one of mine, because I got two, to buy games and trade and stuff like that. But if you didn't get it before then, you're SOL.
Now, that's not going to stay on. You're not going to be able to access that for much longer, from my understanding. What I read, they said it's going to support through some months of the year or something, but it's gonna cut off because people duplicating Pokemon or finding a way to manipulate it, and it's not, Nintendo on the back end isn't actually going to support that long term or do anything with it. So,
I have no idea,
because
I don't think we've ever got anything official on it though. That's the only problem is you get rid of that and it causes a bigger problem.
That's
accessing older games. The only way I see they access it in the near future is they allow us to play these older games on something like the Nintendo Switch Online.
Right.
But glitches and duplications, that's a thing they're going to be fighting forever, and people are always going to find ways around it.
I mean, people are doing it now with Scarlet and Violet. I've seen stuff about it. So I don't know how, because I don't care and I don't do it, but
game's clearly a buggy mess. I'm sure its code's kind of a mess as well if the game doesn't play all that well. So I'm sure there's very easy ways to manipulate it.
But yeah, he was asking me because that's up until that point, there was a way to get Pokemon from any generation on there. There were ways to do it. And what do you do now with the Switch?
Because the only generation outside of, if you really go down the rabbit hole of shiny hunting, which I think is just a nightmare.
I think it's cool when you find one, but I don't shiny hunt.
People go through and get a living dex of shinies. I'm like, oh, that is
too old
takes
for it,
forever.
man. I don't have time. Couple hours a week of gaming, if I can even get that in, is gonna be taken up.
I think the only there's only two. There's a handful of Pokemon from the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon that I need to go back and transfer, and then eventually get Generation 5 that I haven't gotten in older generations and finish my living dex with that. Other than that, I've captured at least one Pokemon from every generation to my Pokemon Home, more or less. But it would still be fun because I want to go back and play the Gen 2 remakes, but to play those games and complete living decks to get both of those games, I want to spend $200-$300 on getting those games secondhand.
Yeah. I mean, all of those, the price of those are a problem.
And they could very easily bring this to Nintendo Switch Online. They
could. I mean, that's a thing. I guess that those are the big games, but there's a lot of games. I mean, that's the case with, because the Nintendo Switch Online.
You can't tell me that wouldn't be a seller for Nintendo Switch Online.
They could sell those separately. People were saying that. Why are you not selling? You can sell these games individually, separately, and people will buy them.
I'm just saying there's no excuse. You can find any reason to simp over a corporation not wanting to do this, but I'm like, very little effort for them to minimize, people abusing certain things. Because obviously the Nintendo Switch Online has like the rewind ability, but you could very easily either make a separate platform or just disable that feature for those games. You can't tell me it's that difficult to actually go and do.
Yeah, I'm curious about all of it because now you've got, these companies making carts for backups and things like there's like a lot like happening, and we're at the end of the Switch's life cycle, so I feel like they're probably not going to do that now because they're not
Nintendo
in
Switch
5 years
Online,
they're not going to want to worry about Nintendo Switch anymore. They're on to the next platform.
No, but whatever this Nintendo Switch Online has to transfer, they can't keep restarting what they're doing. It's just bad business after a while. It took this long to get how many games on there? Now you're just going to start from scratch. Like, yeah, that's a good way to get people to not spend money on it.
Yeah, I think that's going to transfer over. I feel like is going to be the case, right? Because it has to. Because they build up this library to restart. I mean, they did it with the other platforms, but what was different is that you buy the games on there and you get to keep the games. So
even then, I still think it was bad practice, and they could have allowed you to continue to play those games. They just didn't want to, deal with the infrastructure headaches.
I just wonder what,
or maybe there was a licensing issue.
If there was like actually a big gain of them doing the service, because we talked about it before, the service over a virtual console. Because I still feel like I'm on the other side of they probably would have made more money on the virtual console, but because it doesn't matter how much I think about it, I'm like, this doesn't add up for me. Because I know so many people that don't even have Switch Online. Like they don't even pay for the service. There's no
incentive for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're not playing multiplayer games, and, like, Super Mario Odyssey, I don't have to connect online, so they don't care.
But yeah, like, I guarantee you if you start putting older Pokemon games, like the original and the remastered, or the remakes of them on the Nintendo Switch Online, you'd start, I guarantee they'd see a spike in sales of people subscribing to it.
100%.
Those are a reason to actually go and play, as well as give people the ability to then transfer them to Pokemon Home. Like, you're gonna sell subscriptions.
I feel like those are the biggest incentive to get people to go to Nintendo Switch. If they brought those over, they would have so many new subscriptions. It's unreal. Like people just want to revisit those games.
Revisit the old games. People go back for the first times. Though I still think you're better off for most of the older games that have remakes. Play the remakes of the originals, because I think for most of them they're better. Obviously, Gen 4 is the unique child of it's actually the preferred way to play it isn't the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's the platinum version that's still on the DS is the better way to play that generation. But just the ability to go back and play some of the other games, because it's looking like they're gonna skip Gen 5 as far as the remakes, and people are like, that's good, we don't need them. But I'm like, that's great. These are games that are stuck on the DS, and you have no legal way to play without spending several $100s.
I want those. Yeah, Black 2 and White 2. My God, those games are ridiculous. They're like, what, $150 each? Something like that.
Yeah, like if you want to play if you want the full Pokédex and you want to play, that's 4 games you have to get. That's like a 15-year-old game at this point that people say is a really good, and they don't want them to just screw up. And I'm like, okay, well, how can they screw up a game I have never played and I've got no way to actually go and play it?
Yeah,
because they're like, I could get an emulator, but I don't want to play a game of the Pokemon I'm going to play are going to be stuck on that emulator. Like, I want to transfer them to Pokemon Home.
Yeah, that's the difference, because a lot of people want to be able to access those Pokemon. Once they made that service or that type of thing, like people want it's been around for a long time, because you had Pokemon Box, which most people didn't have on the GameCube, but that was like a thing. And then obviously like the transfer packs and using Pokemon Stadium. And so it's been around for a long time, but like that paid service or like a sort of hub has been there just since the 3DS, right? Like that's nothing before that on the. Oh no, that My Pokemon Ranch on Wii, I had it. I got it the day it came out.
A complete waste of time, from what I understand. It wasn't good at all.
I bought it as a
and from what I understand, yeah, but what I understand is like they had to go back to the game that you transfer them from, so it's not really all that much of a box.
If I'm being honest with you, I legitimately bought it as a game, and I think I maybe used it twice as like a box, like a transfer.
Pretty much was like a WiiWare game, but it's just good for extra storage, but it's kind of not necessary based off like how much storage the game itself actually has.
I was a Pokemon nut, man. Even that far in.
I could tell.
Yeah, I was excited about it. Yeah, they got to do something because it's a problem. So like he brought that up, and it got me thinking about it again. And then like that service, from my understanding, I did a bunch of research looking into it because I wanted to talk about it, and then also to try to help him. But I was looking, and my understanding is that that's going to cut off in a couple of months. And they put out a statement, read the statement from what I
know
gathered.
About accessing then, but
like because of the long-term issues with duplication and hacking or whatever.
That's always existed.
Yeah, but in their heads, thinking in their heads, you got to think in the way they think, and what they put out. That's my understanding. Like if you own it, you can get to it still, but that's not going to stick around. And so they said, I forget exactly what they said, but basically
so like
get all your Pokemon transferred over now.
So this was from Nintendo Life back in January. It says Nintendo 3DS online services will be discontinued on April of 2024. While Pokemon Bank can be used beyond this date, we encourage players to transfer their Pokemon to Pokemon Home at their earliest convenience, because I guess the idea is we have no idea how long Pokemon Bank itself will be supported.
Pokemon Bank. I keep saying home for some reason. Why do I keep saying home? Yeah,
so that's what's actually being used. So if it's still, you can still technically use it, but there's no like official statement. Obviously, people go online and claim certain things, but Nintendo's not made Nintendo and or I guess Game Freak haven't come out and said, hey, Pokemon Bank won't be around and then transfer them to Pokemon Home anymore. But I can't imagine them killing that without having something else to replace it, though.
Right, but it is a online. You have to be connected for that to work. So it's an online thing, and it's that issue
it can't cost them that much. Like, come on.
Neither can like keeping the Wii on or anything like that. Like when they cut.
No, but this is a single app that has a single purpose. That means, already integrated into the greater Pokemon Home ecosystem.
But that means they have to keep all of that online service functional. Like, you know what I mean? You can't just keep a single app. You can't just connect online for one single app onto their service.
It's not, come on, Nintendo and Game Freak, with the amount of money they make, you can't tell me they can't spare a small little sliver the convenience of the users. I'll say it's different when it's a whole eShop itself. That's much more costly on a platform that you don't even support anymore. But a single application that realistically only a few thousand people are probably going to still continue to use, and it's going to progressively go down and down until you give people another way to play it. Like it's not like it's that much of an inconvenience to them financially.
I mean, yeah, I'm not defending any of this. I think it's crazy, and I think there should have already been a solution made before this was shut. Like the eShop was shut down. Saying. It should have been covered.
Before they completely kill Pokemon Bank, they need to have something else in place, or it's just going to be more bad publicity that the community is just going to throw onto them of like, okay, what else are we getting? Because I mean, when you saw what Scarlet and Violet were, those are just complete messes of games. They're bad games, both as in how you play them, and technically they're just buggy messes. They're like the least. I think they're arguably the worst games that Game Freak's ever made. I'll stand on that. As far as Pokemon games go, they're the worst Pokemon games they've ever made.
They are the worst in performance, but I'd
rather play the original Gen 1 games and go back and play Scarlet and Violet.
So, I mean, I love those games. I think they hold up fine.
That's a problem, though. 25, 30-year-old game.
I would say that
holds up better
Diamond and
game.
Pearl are still more boring than this gen. But I mean, if you're judging on performance and
gameplay and story, it's just not a good game.
I think the game
top to bottom, I think they're bad games.
I think if that performance ran at a steady 30 at least,
they'd be better. But the actual story and the gameplay is extremely repetitive compared to other games they've made.
You could say it from the outside looking in as like a non-Pokemon fan, or like I don't even an average fan, that like that's kind of the game. Like the thing is, you do the same thing over and over.
Like literally every single boss is the exact same, just with slighted like the way the boss fights work.
Have you played any of like the stuff that they're releasing every single week for it? Have you done any of the like challenges or the?
Because I hate the game. after launch, I refuse to go back to it. I refuse to even give it a chance.
They're supporting it more than they've supported any Pokemon game ever. There's stuff every week in that game.
Yeah, there is, but if the base game's dog crap,
the performance
something on dog crap
is the big problem. Like that is something where it like bothers me a lot.
But even about the performance, I think the world is boring. The terrible popping is bad, and there's just too much empty space in that world for an open world game. There's nothing to do.
It is empty, especially if you're just playing the base game. I definitely think there's a lot of problems.
If you love Pokemon, you need to be. If you love a franchise, you should be extremely critical when they do something wrong and call it out, and not support bad practices.
No, I
think a lot of Pokemon fans
it should have been fixed a long time ago. It should have been that month it was released. They should have been on top of that. I don't understand what's going on. It's still the same.
Because the average hardcore Pokemon fan will just say, "Yes, Daddy, feed me more crap," and they keep selling it. So there's more of an incentive to just keep.
Yeah,
do less effort for more money, and then the more you support it, the more you're going to get that.
It's awfully ridiculous. I think it's really stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But
I'm critical about a franchise I played every generation except Generation 5 of, just because of when they came out. I wasn't playing Pokemon at the time.
It said Mr. Coffee said it's kind of one of those things that it can generate enough money to justify it. And I think he's talking about Pokemon Bank. And then he said there should have been a solution, but these companies never thought this would be an issue. That as gamers, we will just move on to the next thing and forget about the old. That's true. I mean, it is.
Yeah, and it's blowing up in their face because, you make bad games? Well, I'm just going to go play older games because you very obviously don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and said that they never thought the kids that played them would eventually grow up and still want to play them. Yeah, that's another thing, too, because I can tell you, and as well, that our parents, their generation, my dad played a select few games, and the biggest one I can remember was Ocarina of Time, right? I wasn't even allowed to touch it until he beat it. It was that big of a deal. But they were very small cases here that I can remember of him going in, playing a game and beating it or something like that. But it pretty much was that they just didn't play anything. Once they were an adult, it was kind of the thing that you forget about all that stuff, especially that generation. It's still here a little bit because I still hear it occasionally from stupid people, but that was kind of the thing, right? You don't do any of that stuff, you get older. But eventually those people, because I see them now all the time, they give up, or they give up that sort of thought or that mindset, or they, there's some people that never did, but a lot of them did because I saw it, and that was kind of the thing. You don't play video games when you're an adult. That's for kids. That's a kid's thing, and that was definitely there with them. And generation before that, obviously, it just wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah. But as more time goes on, keep playing some. It's a hobby that I grew up doing, and I want to go back and play older games that I grew up playing.
Yeah, and so it's pretty crazy.
Obviously, there's very obviously a market for it that you just refuse to tap into.
Johnny said that he likes the old Pokemon games, and he said that's why I stopped playing Pokemon. The new ones I never got around to it. So I mean, it's a thing for a lot of people. So. What do we got next? I got 500 tabs up here.
Go down that rabbit hole. Got some news about the Ubisoft CEO, essentially just calling out the fans as, you're wrong, more or less. I was trying to fool. So I guess he came out and said, one thing I'm concerned about right now is the malicious and personal online attacks that have been directed at some of our team members and partners. I want to make it clear that we at Ubisoft condemn these hateful acts in the strongest possible terms, and I encourage the rest of the industry and players to denounce them too. I am proud to support the amazing work of our teams and partners, and I will always trust in their creative choices. We should all celebrate the hard work and talent that goes into making video games, except when you just make bad video games. I'm not going to celebrate a billion-dollar corporation because you made something.
Because you did it.
And how much of this is just... they're criticizing a thing? Well, you're just a hateful bigot. This is kind of what it comes off as.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these companies get the thought in their head, or they like sniff something in the air and they feel like they have to do that. Like that's a all
Yeah,
these other companies are doing it, so we're going to do it too because we want to appeal to everybody, right? But when you
to
try to
appeal to the
appeal to
modern gamer.
everybody, especially in 2024, you got to always adjust for the year that it is, the time that you're in, right? Nothing's ever
It's
the
current
same.
year.
Everything changes. So you got to I I don't know. I mean, I don't quite understand the company as a
Like, come on,
whole, but
guys. It's about to be 2025. You have to respect the monarchy. It's just we peaked at the monarchy. Come on.
oh, well, I don't know if you're talking about what I said, but what I meant is you got to appeal, like you got to change with the time as far as like adapting to the situation that's going on now, right? Right now, a lot of people
Yeah.
understand that there's a woke culture and that's a thing. So you have to adapt to knowing that that thing exists and ignore it. Don't chase the trends, as I say all the time.
Yeah,
Don't
but when
chase the
there's
trend.
people that actively from top to bottom want to put that in the games, then you get that in your
And it's
games.
still happening because development takes, quite a while. So like
Until
those
these
games they
games
started
continues,
developing in 2020 when I guess
yeah.
woke culture started, right? Would you say?
You probably go back another decade plus, but
Oh, really?
the problem is like these
First
games
time
have
I
to
knew about
continuously
it.
you have to fail and lose money continuously for anything to change.
Obviously.
Yeah. Like, oh no, it could go back further because when did Gamergate happen? Like 2014, 2015?
It was
So you could go at
2015, I
least
think,
that.
yeah.
You could at least go that far back as far as the issue with
Was
the
that a
the gaming
term
community.
then? Was that a term in
Oh yeah,
2015 woke was?
oh yeah. No, woke probably was.
See, the first time I remember it even said ever was 2020, and then they made a TV show called Woke. I don't know if you know that. There was a TV show, and I had not heard of the term yet. But I watched like the first couple episodes, and I remember reading about it shortly after that, like as it was coming out or whatever. Because I just had never heard. I thought like what it meant like he woke up, like like literally woke up from like sleeping.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it meant. I didn't quite understand, but yeah, it's an interesting time where there's there's more people. It's more divisive because we have the internet, so that you can like you got all these like mini subcultures made up right everywhere. I mean everywhere, and literally everywhere, all around the world. Like you've got all these different people with so many mindsets, and you've got the internet, right? Like
Yeah.
eventually, enough people have been around and grew up with the internet that now everybody is on the internet. Was it like 10 years ago you could have still not had your grandma on the internet, and you look back even 5 years before that, right? Like your uncle may have not even been on the internet. I feel like that it really kind of blew up with like Facebook, because then I remember my grandma saying, "Oh, I'm going to make a Facebook." Like it was a thing. Like, "Oh, I'm making a
Yeah.
Facebook now. I'm going to."
Between that and the rise of smartphones, definitely I think
Oh
helped
yeah,
that.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that too. That's obviously being and having access 24/7. You know what I mean? 24/7 act. So it was a little bit different when you just had I'm using a computer for an hour. I'm going to the library to use a computer, or you had a shared family computer. So like you weren't connected 24/7. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like that makes a massive, massive difference with all of it being connected 24/7 and just the internet being so accessible. But anyway, I just went down a whole rabbit hole. So
No, 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 you're fine.
we've also got Miyazaki says finishing his Elden Ring playthrough was difficult. So it's been interesting to see all this stuff come out about the DLC. Have you heard about how like so bad that immediately you start this game and in like the first 30 seconds you can die? Like you start
Oh
as
yeah, and then
DLC.
they came out and they're just like pretty much get good scrub. Like there's this other
Yeah.
ability you need to like spec into. Like I don't know, maybe they came out just like don't be trash at the game. Man.
Yeah, and
Which
like
I thought was funny.
apparently like it doesn't matter about you just like being leveled up. You got to have like you got to be completely prepared with your weapons and everything. And I still haven't beat Elden Ring, but I will say it's one I'm pretty close. So it's one I paused. Something else came out. I can't remember what. I feel like when Tears of the Kingdom came out, like I kind of paused everything. But anyway, it's the one that I definitely put the most time into of all the Dark Souls games because I feel like it, and everybody says this, but it's definitely the easiest of the Dark Souls games. So I feel like that's why they did that with this DLC. So they're like, okay, here's the easiest. We'll let you kind of get through the game, and way easier, more accessible than Demon Souls. But now we're going to give you Demon Souls back. It's crazy. I was seeing some of the statements. So he said after the release, I tend to not want to touch it because I know I'm going to either find things that I left on the table or issues that will bug me. And he also said, I want to preface this by saying I absolutely suck at video games, so my approach or play style was to use everything I have at my disposal, all the assistance, every scrap of aid the game offers, and also all the knowledge that I have as the architect of the game.
Yeah. So this was done by Bandai Namco US, but this was essentially in response to people complaining about it. It's pretty much said, this is a suggestion to level up your Erdtree. I butchered that blessing. Pretty much says, pretty much like, yeah, get scrubbed. It's supposed to be difficult. Stop complaining about it. We're not gonna do anything. If you suck at it, you just suck. We don't care.
I mean,
get good.
This is the designer of the game. I think it's hilarious because I mean, I say it too. I say this all the time. Exactly what he said. I love video games. I'm not good at video games. There's a select few I'm good, or more, some I know more about, but I am not in general. I'm not generally like competitively good at video games.
But I think it was kind of said, it's like, if they made it easier, it fundamentally changes and breaks what the game's supposed to be. Like, this is not supposed to be an easy game.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
difficult and require
not easy.
Trial and error.
It's the easiest, but it's definitely, I have died on the same boss probably 60 times. So like, that's why I don't play them or like spend a bunch of time, is because like I can't do that 60 times over. But
should have come out and said, sorry, you're not getting a games journalist difficulty setting just to make your life easier.
He said,
is that the meme?
Yeah, it is. He said, I don't see any reason to deny another interpretation or adaptation of an Elden Ring movie, for example. So they were talking about like some other stuff that could happen with it. This is definitely the most popular like Dark Souls game we've ever gotten, for sure. Because this is like on a level where I was hearing like, it hit that like casual gamer audience. You know what I mean? But games are just bigger than they've ever been in the series. You're going back. Dark Souls on the PS3 and Demon Souls on the PS3 and all those. So games, even since the PS3 jumped up probably like 25% at least. You know what I mean? I feel like at least, if not more than that. But it's just bigger than it's ever been. It's a bigger medium than we're getting games every single day. If you're, all the digital releases and things they're getting, like that's
between the digital and the indie market.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting games every day. That's something I could have never imagined, when I was playing the Game Boy Color. So
I mean, let's be fair, it's no ET, but I mean, it's pretty difficult. It's pretty good.
Tell me, how come one of these indie companies or like a small studio hasn't come out and been like, hey, let's make this, it'll start as a digital only, but limited run games will pick it up or something, where they just remake that game as like kind of a joke, but like actually fix the problems with it.
The source material, the source code doesn't even exist. No, you have to completely rebuild the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
As well as there's probably a licensing issue.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the biggest thing.
Would be too expensive for it to be indie.
You're right, because that's a George.
Your licensing
or not? Is that George Lucas? I can't remember.
I think so.
Yeah, that's George Lucas. There's a lot of things that pop in my head, and then I think I misremember them a lot.
But there's no indie studio that's getting a license that's gonna be able to afford an IP, especially when you don't know if it's gonna sell or not.
I will say there have been a lot of things like that that were movies where they need a license that has happened now that I was
It's the
pretty
problem with
shocked
streaming.
about. What do you mean?
Oh, you lose the licensing to stream a TV or
Oh,
movie or something like that,
no,
or
I meant
to
video
stream a video
games.
game.
No, I
It's the
meant
same thing.
like people like remaking said video games, or like the Gargoyles, for instance. That Gargoyles game that came out that was a full on like crazy beautiful remake. That was one that's a Disney property, so I was a little shocked by that with the studio that did it.
I guess you could remake it, but you have to change it enough to where you're not infringing on copyright, essentially.
No, well, like
If you're
this
trying to do
was
it
a
without
license.
the license.
This was a
No.
So like if you take all these were licensed. These are all limited run, like physical. The ones that I'm thinking of, where they've done that and have like appeal to like that niche audience, but you can make a lot of money. They do. That's why these limited companies exist. Or you can make a chunk of money. Like say you are Disney, you can make a chunk of money over here. Say you make, I don't know, $1 million on this little small project that another studio is handling. It's just a license. Like, why wouldn't you do it? So, like, some of these companies are doing that. There's been like, oh god, what, I can't even think of one on the top of my head, but like I can picture thinking of all of them. That there's been a bunch.
It'd have to be smaller IPs just for a smaller studio to afford it. But there's the risk. I'm like, is this a popular IP? Is this even going to sell? Are we going to even make our money back?
A good one actually is the Garbage Pail Games. That's not a remake of a game. It's a whole brand new game, and they actually made an actual NES cartridge for it that you could buy from Limited Run, and it got released on Switch and on the other platforms too. But that's like one where it's like a niche IP, but it appeals to a certain crowd. So you kind of brought in the retro gamers too with doing the NES release, and it is an NES game, like NES style game. So that's like a license thing. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I think it'd be cool. There's a lot of stuff that would be pretty nice to come there. But I do want to say, because we didn't mention it, and I actually think it happened. It might have happened the Thursday before the last podcast, or it might have happened right after. I can't remember. But all the Mega Man Game Boy games got brought to Nintendo Switch Online. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I did.
That's pretty rad. I was really excited about that. I'm glad that they did not ignore those games and brought them over. I think
it's easier for them just to ignore it.
Yeah, I mean they do have like the collections and stuff. But I think it's kind of cool that they brought that over. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, basically,
I'm the biggest fan, but it's always good to see
basically
more games coming.
Get good on Elden Ring. Let's close on that. So we've also got a pretty big one here. I actually meant to put this with the bigger stuff, but that's okay. Both of these. We got the Street Fighter movie. We got an actual release for it. So we've got March 20th, 2026. So that, I mean, it's realistically not like super far away. Still got some time. It's almost 2 years.
Yeah. It means it's probably still early.
Yeah, it's definitely early on it. But I am excited about this. But I'm a little nervous that they pull like they did with the original movie that they made. That was a rough one.
You mean you don't want Jean-Claude Van Damme to come back?
I mean, it would be cool as like a Easter egg. And we got a really good, in my opinion, video game out of that. Street Fighter the movie, the game, the best title of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I think now is the best time to do it. Seems like it. It seems like there's something in the water with video game movies. Seems like we're finally at a time where like we're getting pretty good stuff and interesting stuff, and a lot of things are coming out. So they can definitely do it. They can certainly do it. They made like Street Fighter, a Street Fighter live action, or what was it? Chun-Li. I can't remember. There was a series and a movie, but there was something that came out that I remember thinking was good. Oh, 2009, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. which underperformed at the box office. I thought it was all right. We've gotten like
Okay. I assume we don't know anything about the cast at all. It's just too far out.
Yeah, don't see anything about the cast. Haven't gotten any
All right,
word of it.
This is hypothetical. What would you think of a Casper Van Dien casting?
Oh God,
I feel like he's young enough he'd be able to pull something like that off.
let me look at
For those
him
of you,
right-
for those that don't know, he made his start as Johnny Rico from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I'm looking at him to know who he is. I don't know. I mean, he's got that supermodel chin. It doesn't.
I'm about to say he's got that square jawline. I just feel like it would fit.
Yeah, it might. It might. Oh, hey, he was actually in the series I was thinking of. It's called Mortal Kombat Legacy. He was in it in 2011.
Hey, he's got experience.
He's
I mean, it's not Man Crush Monday, but I'm just saying.
That was the series I was thinking of. I liked that. So it was interesting. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was like good. You know what I mean? It was good enough. So I hope that and it got a 7.3, so it seems like other people viewer score. So other people, that's still above average. Well, yeah, I remember thinking like this isn't amazing, but it's like good. Like as oh, hold on. Yeah, I was mixing these up. So Mortal Kombat Legacy. So I was mixing up. So it was the Chun-Li movie. So both of those, I remember thinking the same thing. Sorry, I was getting the series confused. But so he was in the Mortal Kombat series, but it's the same sort of deal. It's the opposing big fighting series.
Say what you want about the Mortal Kombat movies. That first one gave you that iconic song. Dun, 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 dun. That everybody associates with Mortal Kombat now.
Dude, it was good. I liked it.
Mortal Kombat.
I think it's still good.
So iconic. Like of everybody crapping on that movie, it gave you that one theme song, and you're like, nah, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, I actually think Annihilation is like so bad. Like a so bad it's good type of movie. So it's like a cheese fest. It was like that first one. I think is overall a good movie. Like it's one I still go back to. It's one of the few movies I have on Blu-ray. I think I've got like maybe 10.
So it's kind of like it's your version of The Room, pretty much.
Oh, basically, yeah. I think it's definitely not good. It's certainly not like good. You know what I mean? Like you come into this and you're not a Mortal Kombat fan, like you're gonna be like, what is this garbage? But if you like know,
part of it is just there's just no money, and part of it just looks bad. Like the CG is so cheap.
Oh, dude, it's rough.
Like if they actually had movie, it probably would at least look a little bit better and be more, bingeable. But even back,
they're not going to put any of these video game movies like this that are, the big series. They're not going to put like.
Oh, they should.
Stuff that looks bad out.
I wanted to come up like we put
bad movies can look really good.
$500 million into this movie. We're gonna lose money.
See,
but it's gonna look good.
See that that doesn't matter. Like you can spend a crap ton of money on like say the CG or something. It doesn't mean if the story or the way that you wrap this movie is bad, it doesn't mean it's gonna be good.
So what you're saying is you can make a good movie on a $10,000 budget.
You can. Yeah, you can.
I guess it'd just be a fan film at that point.
No, quit it. I mean,
fan films have smaller budgets than that, and they look really good.
Yeah, there are. I've seen people. When I was in school, I saw people do like films that like looked good. It looked like they could have dumped. These are short films that I'm talking about, but overall, that doesn't necessarily matter on the length. I was like. That is like shockingly good visually. This looks really good. You did this right. Like the lighting, everything that you've done with this movie, like really fits. And like there's people don't know there's a whole team of people just for lighting in these movies. And when you're talking about these big, multi-million-dollar movies, you've got like 20 people just for lights that are just moving them around.
It still looks like crap.
Exactly.
The final product, like a movie from 10 years ago, looks so much better. Video games from 10 years ago look, graphically better than some stuff we get now.
Well, let me tell you something
it's just like
funny.
This cost you more money?
This is hilarious. So I've just got Casper Van Dien still pulled up, and there's a quote from him. This is his quote. I'm on Bing. It's just what comes up. His quote is, "I've always loved writing." That's the quote that like Google has set here in his description. That's it. No other words. I've always loved writing. Like
there's got to be more to that.
Like, what are you pulling from, dude? He was also in a movie called Army Dog in 2016. Not sure if you're familiar with that one.
No, I haven't seen anything outside of Starship Troopers.
He's also
when he voices the animated movies.
He's in one of those company that does all the fake movies trying to cash, dude. Anyway, a movie called Avengers Grimm in 2015. Trying to, because the Avengers came out in 2015.
Yeah.
What is that company called that does all those stupid movies like Transmorphers? What's this company actually called? We talked about him once before. But
yeah, we did a while ago.
He's actually
the Asylum.
Yeah, the Asylum. Yeah, they do all these
terrible movies.
Movies that like just are. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like the movie that your grandma accidentally buys, and that's where they're trying to get their money. Like, she accidentally bought you Transmorphers instead of Transformers.
They put like $5,000 obviously in this movie, and they found like the cheapest actors they could with no talent.
It's got a 2.7.
I'm gonna make you a star, kid.
Listen to this description of Avengers Grimm. Like, it's obviously trying to capitalize on the Avengers name, but it's got Grimm in there for like the Grimm stories, Grimm brothers, right? Is it the brothers? It's just it's like those fairy tales. Anyway, he said it says when Rumpelstiltskin destroys the magic mirror and escapes to the modern world, the four princesses Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and Rapunzel are sucked through the portal too. The four women now must save Earth. I don't know. Kind of want to watch it now that I read the description. Sounds interesting.
Like, hey, that Transmorphers movies, there's people on like Google review giving it like 5 stars.
Oh my god, they're obviously messing around because that movie.
This movie is a thrilling and visually stunning sci-fi adventure that captures audiences with its intense action and imaginative world building.
Yeah, where's that review from? They're sending AI bots on it.
From a dude named Alt 4 weeks ago. One person found this helpful.
Get out of here.
It's about to be 2. I found it helpful.
Who else is looking up Transmorphers other than us?
There's 50 ratings on it with a 2.4 out of 5 on Google.
Oh, that one's got a 2.4 too. Interesting. Looks like they hit that 2 out of 10 range.
Hey, this had a budget of $300,000. You wonder if they made their money back on it?
I'd be curious to know, yeah. $300,000. Those games certainly don't look like it. That's got to all be in straight production and stuff. Because, my assumption is that this movie...
Oh, wow. So apparently both Transmorphers and its prequel, Transmorphers Fall of Man, both made a profit.
Yeah, you know what's funny is they're capitalizing on the Transformers Fall subtitle, Fall of Cybertron.
But somehow they cost them $300,000 on this crap movie, and it still made a profit. But Disney can't make a profit. That's what I was trying to pull up.
That's interesting that it made it 300. No, I feel like they're making that number up. That's
what they said, and then they came out and said, we made a profit, but there's like no official, I can't find like what they actually made because it's very obviously straight to DVD.
Oh, God. Yeah, man, I don't even know how it made DVD. Looks like
DVDs aren't that expensive for them to make. That's probably what that $300,000 went towards.
Yeah, that's all there really was at that point in time. They were trying to literally, what I was saying, I was joking, but I wasn't. Like that's like the type of market they're hitting. Like a grandma doesn't realize she's buying the wrong thing.
So, oh no, this is Transformers. Wait a minute. No, yeah, that says Transmorphers. I'm trying to find.
You don't know the difference?
An actual one of the links did it wrong. I'm trying to figure out like what did they like come out and say what they did they tell us what they made, or they just like, no, yeah, we made a profit of this movie, go away.
Right. Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't put what they made out there. I'm surprised that there's even a number out there that very, very much surprised there's a number that high out there.
But if it got a prequel, the first one had to have made money.
No, dude, these movies get sequels all the time. That
But
like
they
go
wouldn't
straight
if
to
they
DVD.
lost money, though. They have to be making some kind of money, or
No,
they wouldn't be,
for sure.
continue to
But
be made.
only one sequel doesn't necessarily mean they're making like a bunch of money. Maybe it's like they made like
No, but the first one-
$310,000 or something.
But it had to have made money for it to even get a single sequel, though. Like, there's no way this movie lost money. Like, let's make another one.
I bet those actors got paid like, maybe
The bottom of-
$150 for their, or like, I don't know, like, realistically, like $300 for their weekend or something, 2 days.
Probably. They didn't get paid
I mean,
a lot of money.
2015, they definitely, no, these are like people that like, this is their first movie or, stuff like that.
Yeah, they did this
just
movie
want
and
to be in a movie.
Yeah, you're never going to be in another movie after this one.
Yeah,
on your
don't,
record.
you put this on your resume, like, that's a bad look. Even I would turn that down.
Like, I'd make the money, but like, I'm not telling anybody I was ever in this movie. You're not going to put me in the
Right.
credits at
You're
all.
like, I'm doing this for me. I just want to know that I'm in a movie. I can pull out a DVD and I'm there. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't see anything either. I just Transformers popping up.
Yeah. No, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I know.
But
I
they-
really wanted to know too. I'm looking here on the movie database, but don't.
So it wasn't officially in theaters. We're not going to give you numbers for what we made because we
It
don't
even
have to.
says on the movie database, no budget known, no revenue known, right on their tabs. Those are the only things not known. And the content score on there is 100. Get out of here. Get out of here.
So bad.
Get out of here. I'm looking at like the amount. There's somebody 3 days ago that. Stop it. There's like a bunch of Chinese characters all here. Plus. Like, oh, this guy named Malcolm, he rated it 6 times in a row. That's why it's 100.
It's like I'm single-handedly going to keep this up.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's a whole rabbit hole. People getting bored, but yeah.
I'll say this: I think video game movies peaked in the early 2000s with the Final Fantasy movie. The Spirits Within. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh God.
I actually liked that movie as a kid.
Get out of here.
Surprisingly enough, knew nothing about the actual Final Fantasy property, but I liked the movie.
It's not like the worst thing in the world.
That's a true story.
It's not.
It has nothing to do with Final Fantasy.
No.
We were just down that rabbit hole, and it kind of popped
No,
up.
you're good. You're good. I'm checking a couple of things.
Yeah, you keep checking. Whatever you're checking. I guess we got some other stuff. A new canceled Xbox console Keystone was leaked online, apparently. And Brandon put in the notes that apparently he was right. Right about what? I don't remember. I didn't hear nothing.
Oh, whatever.
So I'm just gonna assume you're lying to me.
I think I said this. I don't know, but on record, I think I said it at least 3 times. At least. And I'm talking like the past 15 episodes. Max. But no, basically just that they're going to do a streaming only console. Like it seemed like based on everything that they've been doing for the past couple years and just like all the moves they've been making, that they want to really focus on software, not hardware.
And then,
right?
And then didn't Google try this and it just failed?
Yeah, Stadia.
miserably?
Yeah, but also to be fair with that, and it's just a case that because everything's just progressively getting better every day, the problem with that is because I bought it, I just wanted to check it out and all that stuff, and I had a lot of problems with connection, just having to be connected 24/7, and like just since then, like my internet's gotten better. Now like fiber internet is like the norm, like that's the pretty, you know what I mean? Like it's widespread everywhere. Google Fiber's been around for, I mean, I got it early last year, maybe January of last year. But Google Fiber's been around, like 5 years or something. So like it took, to spread out. If I'm getting that and I'm seeing it in even smaller areas, then, it's everywhere now. It wasn't then.
Yeah, but streaming games is still not an ideal way to play a video game.
No, it's absolutely
you want it
not.
on your machine.
Even now, there's like I've got the the PlayStation handheld, and even with that, there's issues. I can be right next to my console with everything plugged in, hardwired in, internet's hardwired into it. I can have a separate Wi-Fi set for just that, so it's getting like 750 on its own, just as like testing around. There's still issues, so I feel like it's going to constantly be getting better, but that's probably one of the big reasons why they scrapped this.
Yeah, but if you look at the actual patent, it looks like a lot of what they did with the
Series S,
current Series S. Yeah, it looks just like that as far as like the design itself, and then they just scrapped it in favor of the fridge, which just looks terrible. But
yeah, my thing, because so just 2 years ago, Series X, Series S came out in 2020. So in 2022, development was paused, and I feel like it's probably started maybe shortly after that or right when those consoles launched, because who knows how far it was. All we have is a patent. So we don't know anything, but it says development was paused due to Keystone being too expensive. So like I dived into this a little bit more, but basically taking that hardware, using that, like the PS5 for instance, you're selling at a loss. So like they've got to get a console here that they're basically not selling at a loss or at all, because they're trying to get it as cheap as possible. Here's the problem. So going down to the hardware of it, you've got Series S's, being on sale all the time for $250. This is $200. Why would the person not just grab the other, the one that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because then there's the other issue of, this console, it's cheaper, but as far as Microsoft is concerned, now you have to host these servers for the players that actually play, because the hardware isn't there. Even if there's still hardware there to play the game, you still have to stream it, which means it's being hosted on a external server.
Right.
And you have to deal with all those extra costs, and then you have the issues with the lag and stuff like that. I just don't think it's a good way to play games.
No, and
I don't think I'll ever fully buy into the whole streaming thing.
A lot of those people too are going to want to be just picking it up for like Call of Duty, or like, it's going to hit like the very casual gamer marketplace.
But I feel like that'd be even worse for like those Twitch type games, which is like a Call of Duty. That lags.
Oh, that would be horrible. That would screw up the game. You'd have to have. I don't even know how you're paying.
Like you already have lag issues now with just the server hosting. Respond to the pings of all the players and stuff like that. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess the server itself would be hosting all the hardware, but the input lag, which is still negligible as far as like how fast it's actually moving, but that 50 to 70 milliseconds potentially
it matters really with those games. It does matter with those games a lot. People are like buying into $250 controllers, or buying into getting a way to make sure they've got their consoles hooked up to the internet, plugged in, hardwired. Like they get into this deep with like those type of games, and it's gonna be the same with like the Forzas and all the games that hit the casual gamer market. It just wouldn't work, and so the Reddit user, I don't even know how to Smarmy Smurf said, honestly, if it just did xCloud, sorry. Something
you stopped really weird there.
Yeah, because I had one of those things pop up. Stupid ads on here. I hate going on.
Pretty light.
I hate this. No, it said if they did a console that just did xCloud, which is their streaming, like sort of center xCloud. So like on your phone, if you're to use that, you're using xCloud. They would have failed, and it said xCloud is not ready for prime time even now. Forget then, which is completely true. So keeping xCloud in beta and free is the right move for the foreseeable future. This is the Reddit user, not Microsoft. And also said the line of reasoning was seconded by another saying, "It'll never be ready. Cloud gaming is pie in the sky and will forever be. Latency is not acceptable even at gigabit plus connections."
I think that's just the problem. It's never going to take off.
I don't know that it will never be ready. I
think the problem is like you might be able to sell it cheaper for the user, but the long-term cost of these servers is not cheap. and you have to sell and maintain before the whole service collapses. I just don't think it's financially affordable for these companies to go straight streaming.
Yeah,
I think
I
what
don't
what
think
you're
it makes
doing now
sense.
with like, hey, you can download these games, or essentially with the Xbox Game Pass essentially, but since you can play the game locally, works a lot better in that sense of like quasi streaming. But you still, it's just going to be a better experience when you have the hardware right there in person.
Yeah, it just doesn't. We're definitely not at a point where that makes sense. Especially like they were saying, then just 2 years ago, like makes
Yeah.
a difference, and all this hardware is constantly being worked on. But is it something that I want to buy in ever? No. Yeah, I don't even want to let physical go. So definitely
Yeah.
not. But I with a business mindset and understanding why that would make sense for these companies and more profit. Like
Yeah,
I
but
get it. Like I'm not gonna anymore. I'm not fighting anymore over the physical digital thing. I'm all for physical completely, but I get why people want to digitally have a game on the Switch so they're not carrying around a
just
bunch of cards.
convenience.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Now I get it consumer and I get, what the company's mindset. So I just have, I'm too old and stuff to argue over
I
stuff
guess I'll
all the
say
time.
this: if Microsoft and Sony were to go to the straight streaming route, I think that just drives a lot of people to the PC market who at least still want to have their machine and
Oh
their
yeah.
hardware right there and then. Because at the very least, with the PC market and stuff like Steam, I can still download these games in my hardware and still play them online or offline. Obviously, if it's like a
Right.
single player game type
And
thing.
and then like a handheld doing that makes more sense because like, the PlayStation handheld, you're connecting to your PS5. So
Yeah,
like
but that's not obviously it's not the ideal way to play it.
it's
It's just
not
a supplemental way.
right. If you're on a business trip and you got to go, you don't want to carry around your big hunkin' PS5, which I certainly don't. I've never traveled with
That's
that
what
and I
the
don't want to.
that's what the Switch is for.
Yeah, that's what the Switch is for. Absolutely. And I did travel with the PlayStation handheld, and like I said, it was still at a point where there's a lot of problems with that handheld when it came out. Like it just was like a buggy mess. Now it's like at times it wants to work, and at times it looks like crap, like very staticky, and it
Yeah.
just it like picks and chooses, which really frustrates me when I'm right next to the handheld. But yeah, I mean, if we don't even have that right yet, and it's Sony and Microsoft here with this, but then I don't know. But like XCloud, I will say XCloud on my phone works about 5 times better than this PlayStation handheld does, being right next to the PlayStation 5, being plugged in, having a better connection, and I'm on Wi-Fi on my phone, you know what I mean? XCloud
Yeah.
for me for a couple of years has worked pretty good the couple of times I've used it, like really good, like shockingly good. So I feel like they've got maybe a better grip on it than anybody does right now. But if they cancel this, and it's not going to work, they're going to lose money, then we're not ready. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
They've got probably the most money put into like that. They were doing it way before Sony. Sony, you can stream on your phone and stuff now too, and you have been able to for several years. But they've really kind of nailed in with XCloud, and now they're adding to it, and they're adding what's the games that we talked about that the president Candy Crush, right? Yeah, Candy Crush.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, whatever, going to their new Xbox mobile thing they're building. I don't even know what it's called. I forget. I can't remember what they're doing with them. Said they're like building a mobile marketplace or something stupid. I forget what they said, but they're trying to build
something
like a
along those lines.
mobile platform. I think it's for a handheld, and I think that's the other reason they're like, oh wait, hold on. It makes more sense to try to do a chopped down version of the Series S for a handheld, where people now it's like, I've got a console, and let me come over here and buy a cheap $200 or less handheld. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Like Sony with their stuff, it makes sense. They didn't try to put like a PS5 in a handheld or anything like that. They're like, let's make a super chopped down handheld where literally you're just buying a screen in between controllers and connecting to something else.
Pretty much.
We got
that sounds terrible.
It's pretty rough, but a lot of people have have good stuff to say about it, especially now after like the firmware updates and stuff, and like it's definitely better. I've gone through and played and had like played 2.5 hours of Final Fantasy on it one night. There's been a couple like semi-long sessions where it's been good, but like I said, it's like a mixed bag, and it's all based on your internet connection and whether your PlayStation is actually plugged in. Like all this stuff matters. Like there's a Reddit checklist you can find where I had to like look up what's the best way to make this thing work. Oh, unplug your HDMI cable. I'm trying to remember like all these like things that you have to do for it. It's like make sure you unplug that before you leave for like a trip if you want to use it and like stuff like that. And everything that they put in this list like actually did make it better, which is ridiculous. Like it did work better after that. They had like a list of like I don't know 4 or 5 things, but like that's ridiculous. Unplug your HDMI cable. That's like.
What you want to do is you want to take a 2mm screwdriver. You need to unscrew all 10 screws on your console. Now you need a soldering gun and probably a heat gun because you got to pull some stuff off.
Oh god,
that's what it sounds like. It's going.
Yeah, basically. Like yeah,
you just need ridiculous. About $200 worth of equipment. 10 years worth of experience, and it's only gonna take you like 4 hours to disassemble and reassemble it.
That's nothing. It's just to spend some of your day off. Don't play games like come over here and do this. Oh god,
you gotta do work.
Yeah, I mean it is one of those things though. Like seriously, it's pretty silly. So I do think that was super interesting to come out though, because I had a feeling, but I think now the case is whether this will end up coming out. I feel like it will because the PlayStation handheld came out and they've kind of got xCloud working good, and I feel like they're going to try it still. But if not, might see another patent or something for it. But I do feel like they are working on a handheld of some kind, and it more than likely I think now is not a streaming device. I think it's a handheld. Like they're working on a handheld, like a beefy, chunky handheld. So I feel like that's what they're doing now. But they could do a streaming only device too. And now it's we covered it about a month ago that Sony's working on a actual like handheld now too. So they'll have the streaming device and like an actual handheld.
Yeah,
it makes sense with the handheld market now. It just depends on when it comes out. Who knows if this handheld trend goes away in 3 months, right? Because I mean, it is like kind of a trend right now. All the companies are doing it. It is a trend.
You're making all these things, but they still have to be profitable for you to like continue to invest in them.
Yeah, and people have to care and want them still because like handhelds died for quite a few years. Nobody cared about handhelds.
Oh, outside of Nintendo, pretty much.
Yeah,
which Nintendo's it's gonna matter because they've got their games on it.
Right. Yeah. Outside Nintendo, and even then, they didn't want a handheld only device anymore because it didn't make sense. People want, it made sense what they did. Like they transitioned with the marketplace. I feel like
they took the Wii U, they took the 3DS, and they just slammed them together.
Basically, there's a lot of things. It's funny. I saw this article the other day, and they were talking about a lot of these games that have been brought over to the Switch or games that are like just generally better on the Wii U. I'm like, there's a lot of Wii U sympathizers or people that like the console now. I feel like it's trendy to like the console.
I still have it. It's a bad console. It's a Wii with a terrible controller.
Man, I can't say the Wii U's bad.
It had good games
console.
on it, but it's not a good console.
I just feel like the biggest thing, like for 75% of the audience, was the name. Like, it's stupid. I feel like that's what
it is
made the sales not be there. Oh, what is this? A new controller for your Wii?
So this is what we're getting with the Switch. It's the Switch U.
It's the Wii.
We would like to play. That's a really good marketing campaign.
It is. That is a good one. Yeah, no, I think it's funny. They're talking about like some of the games. So like Call of Duty 3 on Wii U is just like way better than it should be. And a lot of people now, if you like look on like different lists and stuff, that is the best version. It's funny because that's the version I bought, and it's the only one I've ever played. And I put, oh god, well over 1,500 hours in that game. I played the crap out of the Wii U version of Black Ops 3. People love it because you can either play on just that Wii U handheld, which is not what I normally did, but there was some times where I did, or you could use it as a map with all your stuff in it. And so you've got it right there on, just quick touch. You don't have to go through any settings or anything like that, or pull anything else extra up or have something shoved in a corner. So it was kind of interesting, and it actually like looked and ran really well. I'm pretty sure it ran at a solid 60 locked. The game looks really good on Wii U. I've still got it. So, but yeah, they were talking about like some of the other games. So like Super Mario Maker 1, they were talking about how that is better than 2 because in 2 you have to go through the damn systems. You have to press like the start button and like go through all these, to pull out something you want. If you're designing a level, you got to go through like 6 different things. So you got to go through this menu system.
It's not as easy to build
it's
courses.
Very inconvenient, and it doesn't have a bunch of the stuff that was on Super Mario Maker 1 did not come over. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, tons. And that article showed everything. And what else was there? Oh, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker said the Wii U one was much better, again, because it was kind of designed around having that second screen.
Yeah.
So they brought it to 3DS, and that's fine, but the Switch version is not good. I have it. It's not good.
But I mean, that makes sense when you're playing a game on one system that was never designed for said system. It was designed with another system in mind.
Right. Yeah, and then like Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, even though that new one technically has a couple of new things, like it also doesn't have everything that the Wii U version had because of like the multiplayer, so you could do like the... Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. But
there's always limitations that you run into.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. There's a lot of Wii U sympathizers now. I kind of don't like it. People hate it on that console, man. Like you said, oh, what system you got? A Wii U? Like, dude, you lost that friendship, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I bought the Wii U was because I had some Wii games I had no way to play otherwise. I'd never bought a single Wii game.
Oh, dude, I was there launch day. I was there. I was the only one there.
I bought it at the end of its life, like 2 years before the Switch came out.
That's interesting.
Only because I wanted a way to play the handful of Wii games that I actually have.
I mean, that's the way to do it. Obviously, even now, like you've got the HDMI connection stuff, so it makes sense. But
yeah, I think the Wii U's a better Wii for Wii games on modern televisions. Other than 100%. That, no point.
But then, like the Wii. The thing about that is like you lose the GameCube compatibility, so it's just like you got to pick and choose.
I still have a GameCube. I don't need that.
Yeah, but not everybody
the problem
does.
Is,
you know what I mean?
Even if I still had that, I'm still stuck with the component cables, regardless.
There's cheap adapters and stuff, but yeah,
it's not as good. But that's still the problem. Like, at that point, if I'm still using those adapters, I might as well just use my GameCube at that point.
For that makes sense, and it actually doesn't matter because there are component cables made for the Wii and the GameCube, but the problem with GameCube, the component cables are like $200 because they were only released on the Nintendo Online Store for a very exclusive period of time, which is very close to HD. It's as good as you can get with component cables or those type of cables. So
go buy a CRT at that point.
Yeah, I mean, no, literally, yeah, CRT and component cables, really good, man. Good, best way to play most games on there. But
I want to play my GameCube in 480i natively. Thank you very much.
I am like that. That is me.
Compared, like if you put it like
on the GameCube cables and the Wii cables, so that
I hook it up to my TV. I think it's like a 2K is like the resolution. It's just it looks bad because the TV's putting more pixels than the game actually can render. So even if you put it in like that 4:3, it's just too blown up.
100%. I usually suggest don't even try unless you got like a RetroTink or one of the upscaler devices, because with that, some of these games are like, besides. The only thing is the black points when you're using CRT where you've got kind of the scan lines, and like a lot of games were
Yeah.
built with that in design. You know what I mean? Like the scan lines were
Yeah.
supposed to be there because they're working around every single pixel. So a lot of games you can really tell it just look off. Like if you've ever seen it before, it just looks off to you. Something looks off. But that black level, we still haven't been able to recreate that. But OLEDs, I will say, OLEDs have gotten really, really close. I've used a few of the newer OLEDs a couple of times in person. Last year I did too many games. They were showing off one of the Samsung, what's it called? I forget that series that everybody gets. I think Samsung G, and like there's like a 4 and 3 or whatever, but they've gotten very close, that like black level, and that's like the big thing, right? It's like
That's crazy. I think you have to go back to, you can't replicate what a CRT could.
They
This is really
can't.
old technology.
Yeah, and I mean people are still, you've got the RetroSync 4K. It's $1,000 device to be able to play these games on your 4K TV. It's $1,000 sold out all the time and being scalped. So it's one of those things where like people want it so bad, but like it's 2024 and like we're just now, I feel like, getting to the point where the OLEDs are starting to really be able to sort of mimic the black levels, but still not completely there. We're just not there yet. We're close with the OLEDs. LGC, that's what it is. LG, not Samsung. Okay. So thank you for letting me know that there, Mr. Coffee. You got Johnny said, I like Super Mario Maker 1. Number 2 is not my favorite. So we got another person chiming in on that. And also said my favorite was Super Mario 3D World, both versions. I like that game a lot. I think it's super fun. And then Mr. Coffee had said a little bit ago, said maybe Amazon Fire will crack that game stream nut with Xbox collab. That's funny. We got some Amazon Fire discussion coming up here in just a bit. Then we got Mark asking or saying, I think amiibos are stupid.
I do think they're stupid.
Oh, I did want to quickly hit this Concord. I don't have much to say because I just don't care about the game. I don't care about these type of games, but I do want to still address it. Concord early access and open beta set to kick off next month in July. Looks like it's going to start on July 18th and it ends on July 21st. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But for me, the type of game it is, I'm just not interested. So
another Overwatch clone's probably going to fail.
Yeah, and then we got that stupid Marvel, what's it? I remember that coming out, that Marvel game, Avengers game and stuff. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
They announced in the same... I can't believe they announced 2 games that are like identical in the same type of game in the same presentation with a first party, game like it coming out. So
you just need to buy the game. Don't think, just buy.
Exactly. Yeah. So asking my thoughts on Godzilla -1. I thought it was really good. So I went in not completely surprised because there's just been so much that has come out about it. So I've seen a lot of screenshots. I've not gone in to intentionally like watch any chunks of it, but so a couple of points I'll make, I guess, talking about it. The characters, they really put time into developing those characters. Definitely a lot more time than most Godzilla movies, but it is a thing that they do sometimes. People sometimes like it and sometimes I hate it. I just want to see the monsters. I'm usually like that if it's the MonsterVerse movies. I'm definitely that way. Like, just let me see the monsters. Basically, that's the only reason I'm here. But for the Japanese Godzilla films, I really like when they develop those characters. And then I thought the end was kind of, that surprised me. That very end scene where he walks in,
after the credits,
I thought that was cool. It was like really cool. I didn't see that coming. I think it's definitely better than the previous Japanese Godzilla film. Shin Godzilla is okay. I just don't like the transformations is my only problem with it. I think they look stupid. It throws me out of the movie, and like the movie itself is good, but that isn't great, and them trying to work with the characters like they did in that movie. I think they took the mistakes there with the characters, which is silly because, studio's been doing stuff forever, but I feel like they did because that's kind of the Japanese relaunch of Godzilla, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they really kind of screwed up with the characters there. They were just didn't care about them, and nobody.
All over the place.
Yeah, there was
There's
just like
no
nothing
real
there.
main character.
Right. Yeah, there was nothing there with that.
Like you've got a 4 or 5 supporting characters. You really have like your one main character. I can't remember what his name, but it's him, the daughter, and then the romantic interest essentially. Yep. But it's got you one main character that we follow through the whole movie.
Which I if you don't I obviously it a lot for that movie.
Because what I really remember from watching it is, like, if you don't care about the main character, you're not going to care about the whole movie. Because you have to care about these characters, or else the movie doesn't actually hit home like it wants to at the very end.
Godzilla's only in there for like 11 minutes total or something like that. He's not in it very long.
But when he's in it, it's memorable.
Right. And the other cool thing
you always have that sense of dread.
I'll tell you what does suck is the black and white version is not on streaming. I thought they both. I thought they were both out together, and I was really disappointed because I
think it's the better way to watch it.
We were going in expecting to watch that version, so like my daughter knew ahead of time, like, oh, we're watching a black and white movie. It was our first one, and I was like really disappointed. But I will say also the start of the movie was cool, just immediately there in the action. The way they did that, I thought was really cool. They hooked you right in the beginning of the movie. He's immediately there. Essentially,
they wasted no time.
Yeah, I mean, what, like the first 3 minutes or something, he's there, and it's really brutal.
Yeah, it starts with him landing. Oh, there's some issues, and then the first night, all of a sudden,
killing almost everybody.
It was like 2 of them that survived the attack.
Yeah, it was really cool the way they did that. What else can I point out? Oh, the design of him it's good, way better than Shin Godzilla. I think overall that design just looks off. Even the final.
Yeah, but it has much more of a. Obviously, it doesn't look like a man in a suit, but it's much more of a classical Godzilla design, and the way he moves around and stuff like that.
I think it's just way. Let me pull it up again. What are all the points that is off for me? Because I just think as a whole, like I had when Shin Godzilla came out, I bought one of the monster art figures. It was like $250, and just the figure looked off. And now they've done all the transformations and everything for it, which is crazy, but
they weren't in the movie.
Yeah, it's like the Star Wars thing, right? Like, let's make a action figure of something that's in there for 2 seconds and the whole series of Star Wars. Yeah, but I'm looking off the jaw thing when he opens his mouth is just, I think, gross. Like, it doesn't, not like a good kind of gross either for Godzilla. It just looks terrible to me. That where she's got his mouth cut open. Like he's,
because you're talking about this is Shin Godzilla, right?
Yeah, Shin God. Oh yeah. I'm talking about Shin.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, too, like the torso just too big. It makes the whole design look off to me. But and as a whole, like it's not like a horrible movie, Shin Godzilla, but it's definitely not my top. I don't know, even like, probably 10 Godzilla movies because I've seen all of them multiple times. Yeah, I was obsessed just a few years ago. Like, I had a whole section just filled with Godzilla figures everywhere. And that's what I had. Like, I sold off my video games a few years before that. I started back again collecting Godzilla specifically. And then I ended up selling that off and started collecting video games again. But
I gotta find some -1 figures.
I'm good on that.
Very quickly came to be like
I was
one of my
saying
favorite Godzilla movies.
-1, yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would like to get a few things from that, I think, because it's the best Godzilla movie to come out since. I liked Final Wars. A lot of people hated it, but since then, I would say, in my opinion.
This one very obviously goes back to the OG Godzilla. If you ever watched it, it's been a few years since I've actually watched it.
Yeah, because there's some of the same scenes. The subway, like that was recreated the exact scene from the original movie. You can look up with him holding the rails in his mouth. I don't know what you call it, rail cars. What's it called? They're hanging in his mouth. Car. Yeah, you can look it up. Like comparisons, exact everything to a T. And that's like an iconic scene. There's like statues of Godzilla with him like that. That's like, I would say the like King Kong's is being on top of the Empire State Building. Godzilla's is that scene. That's like
Yeah.
his thing where
But I mean, it also goes back to you see him just as a regular creature, and then obviously he gets dosed with radiation, and then he comes back and he's even more of like a menace. As Brandon kind of runs away for a second. But no, it very quickly, because I got lucky accidentally watching originally in black and white. It's definitely, if you're a fan of like the original Godzilla from, I don't know, was it 54? I might be getting that wrong, but like the OG, like this is like a fresh restart, a fresh take on that, and that's, I think I've said it before. I absolutely love this, and I don't want to say definitively because I've not watched every single Godzilla film that's out there. I still have quite a few to watch, but of those that I've watched, -1 probably for quite a while will be at the very top for me. And then just comparing it to the MonsterVerse movies, I don't think it's even close. I'd rather watch this type of Godzilla movie compared to Godzilla Kong or Godzilla versus Kong or something like that. I just think it's night and day how well just a film, regardless of the monster itself. It's just a much better solid film. From the writing, acting, directing, all the way through to the actual monster itself of Godzilla. And I think Godzilla always worked as more of a neutral, just a force of nature outside of the whole anti-hero that Godzilla has been portrayed as. Not saying it's bad, it's just what I've always preferred out of Godzilla. It's just what I like myself. And Mr. Coffee saying, you heard Toho release a memo dictate what Godzilla can and can't do, so no studio can break these rules. Yeah, I mean, it's your IP. You can dictate what people can and can't do. Personally, purple, thick hip Godzilla is my least favorite. No, fair enough. Final Wars is the bomb. Don Fry is the goat. I'm sure Brandon might know that. I haven't watched Final Wars, so I can't say definitively.
What is it? What?
Sorry. Final Wars is the bomb. Don Fry is the goat. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Go ahead, Don Fry. Hold on, I have to look that up.
It's just not going down to.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't want to sound really stupid when I'm a Godzilla fan. Oh yeah, he's talking about the mixed martial artist.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I guess he's in the Final Wars.
Yeah, because he's in. Yeah, he was in a bunch of those like stupid stuff, right? Bunch of stupid stuff. Yeah.
He's like he's an old wrestler, so.
Yeah. So okay, I forgot about that. I forgot he was even in there. Yeah, no, a lot of people really hated Final Wars, but a lot of it was they were doing the oversaturation thing where a Godzilla film was like coming out every single year. People were getting tired of it. Even the Japanese audience got sick of it because Final Wars didn't like. It wasn't like a Godzilla 2. There's a couple of Godzilla films like throughout history where there would be like a weird point where like, oh, this Godzilla film did so well, it's like coming out here in theaters. And Final Wars was one of those, and Godzilla 2000 was one of those. And then like before that, Godzilla Kong, obviously that was a long time ago, but that did premiere in theaters. And then the original Godzilla film. But there's like a couple like cultural like sort of touchstones with Godzilla where it came out pretty much immediately here or like very shortly after. A lot of them we had to wait a long time to come out here because they were just straight to VHS or DVD. So a lot of them like, you were waiting 6 months for it to come out here or whatever, sometimes a year. Yeah. So it was like a weird thing, but yeah, that one came out in theaters here, Godzilla Final Wars.
I mean,
a lot of people hated it.
The critics gave it a 50 on Rotten Tomato, but it's the audience on Rotten Tomato with over 10,000 sitting at 71. I mean, it's not great,
like
but
it's not
like completely terrible.
I think a lot of it is that it was coming out every single year at that point in time. Now
when it came out.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is I said I like it a lot. I love Final Wars. It's in my probably top, I don't know, 6 maybe, roughly. Yeah. It would probably be like my 6th, somewhere around there. Yeah. But I like it a lot, and I thought it was really good. You should definitely watch this era. Is this a Heisei era, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah, this is a Heisei. So this is like the scary Godzilla, where they were trying to make him like really intimidating. So all of his designs,
Godzilla.
All of his designs are like very like let's make this as evil and demonic looking as we possibly can, like with the Godzilla design. And like he looks, yeah, I love it. But the other
whole
thing,
burning Godzilla design.
yeah, I know it's a lot of it's just his face, really, like the facial. He's angry, and then we went
Yeah.
through there at Godzilla where he's basically smiling with the suit design, and you got his son, Godzilla, or no, what was his something with an
Godzilla.
M. He had a name. It wasn't Godzilla Jr. There is a Godzilla Jr. in the Heisei era, but what is it? Godzilla. He's got a name. It's Men something.
Can't remember.
I'm trying to pull Manila. That's what it's called. So like Mini Illa is, you get it. I don't know why they didn't put a Z in there. Mozilla would have made more sense, but Manila. Anyway, yeah, like a really dumb, stupid design where in this area you've got Godzilla jumping up and down, crossing his legs. Have you ever seen that meme?
Oh, yeah, I have. Oh my god, I looked at Manila and the first thing I thought of, there's an old like a quasi sitcom where it's like a bunch of dinosaurs and stuff like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Yeah, I think I know what
saw
you're
that
talking
design,
about.
and the first thing I remember is not
you're
the
talking
mama.
about it's just called dinosaurs. That's what
I
you're
think that's
talking
what
about.
it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, because
really
the
old.
end of it is brutal. Did you ever watch the end of that where they all
No,
die? They all die. They all sit in a room. Dude, I cried when I watched that as a kid. That ending, because they all sit in a room talking about, hey, start like talking to their kids, like, hey, sorry, we're all about to, you know what I mean, like trying to.
because they're gonna end it with like the asteroid. And
yeah, that's how they
dinosaurs,
ended it. That was brutal as a kid. But yeah, first appearance was in Son of Godzilla. So like a lot of this era, I would tell like most people unless you're like a diehard, there's a lot of stuff in this era that you can probably skip and probably would hate. I like it, but Son of Godzilla, I would say, is the worst movie, and it isn't necessarily just because he's in several movies. It's not that. This is basically a recycled movie. It's got a bunch of recycled footage and stuff. So you have like, I think it's like 30 some minutes of like actual new footage in the film, but it's all like recycled.
A lot of reused.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
like
a good movie.
No, it's not good. It's really bad. Anybody will tell you it's like one of the worst. Don't look at the scores. Go look at Godzilla groups or forums. But yeah, I can't believe it has 63% on Rotten. It's terrible. So bad. Don't just skip that one, stupid. But yeah, so like you had like all these different eras of Godzilla, and it was cool to see that. I really like the original Godzilla because he wasn't like you kind of didn't know that he wasn't necessarily like bad or good. He was just like sort of, you know what I mean, like nature, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a force of nature type thing.
Yeah, he was just like, he was there. Like, he's just basically being the destruction to Japan, essentially.
Yeah.
And I really liked that sort of Godzilla. There's something about the first Godzilla movie and the second, you could say, but about the first where it's just like you just don't know. It's kind of like he's menacing. You don't know if he's good or bad, like that sort of thing. Where it was new, like you can only see that once. You know what I mean? Really, like I've watched that first Godzilla film, Gojira, multiple times. And you go back in and you kind of know Godzilla at that point. So it's not like the same sort of effect, but I can imagine like, watching that first movie again for the first time.
Yeah.
Where you can tell like the design of the movie, like you didn't know. And they didn't even know if there was going to be they didn't know there was going to be a long running series all the way to 2024. It was just a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where Godzilla wasn't like a franchise. So
that's crazy.
That got brought back. I like that.
Yeah. As far as the -1 movie, what'd you think of the music in it?
It was really good. I thought the music design was great. What'd you think?
It's amazing.
Like soundtrack. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. I loved it. Like that's a soundtrack I would buy. I thought it was so good.
Oh yeah.
And there's legitimately like the Godzilla main like sound design, like his, when he's coming in type of design is really good. But like I wouldn't say there's that many Godzilla movies where I'd be like, yeah, I gotta buy the album, because you got like 60 movies or
just
whatever to go through.
like the especially the callbacks to some of the older
Yeah,
soundtracks and
they
just how well they did it. And it because there's times, especially like in the
where it's
final third,
orchestrated.
that final battle against Godzilla, like that music really makes that scene. And then it gets even more daring because I don't want to spoil it, but there's a like right near the end of the movie when the music just stops, like right before.
Yeah, it
You
gets
know what I'm
dead
talking
quiet.
about. I don't want to spoil it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so deafening compared to like everything leading up to it. I thought was really really good.
Yeah, I loved it. It's one of those ones like legitimately you could listen to the soundtrack. There's as much as I love movies, there aren't that many where I've owned a lot of movie soundtracks I've gotten from the thrift stores and stuff. Like for some reason,
Yeah.
like buy
I
all
guess
my
the
fine,
soundtracks that like the soundtracks that leave like a lasting impact on you.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good, man. Movie is great. I can't wait to see what they do next. I've seen a lot of stuff after because I was like immediately like looking some stuff up now that I like knew everything that happened, and it seems like they've got a pretty good idea on what to do next. So I'm looking forward to that. Like, there's a lot of ways that you could take this after that. There's a lot of ways you could do it because there's been so much that's happened and you don't really know what they're doing right now. But if they keep kind of going in the trajectory of this type of Godzilla, it's only been one movie realistically. Like Shin Godzilla, it's really only been one movie that they've done this for. So it'd be cool to see what they do next. But I'm a little nervous when they start introducing other monsters into it because it's like, how do you straight take this Godzilla design from the first movie and kind of put him in take that type of Godzilla where he's just like a sort of menacing force of nature and move him into bringing monsters in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that movie just, I don't know. It just like doesn't scream other monsters to me. You know what I mean? Like you're watching through the whole movie.
It's like if they were to bring other monsters, it'd be its own separate thing. It wouldn't be like tied in.
But it looks like they're continuing this movie, so
they left it up. I mean, it might not show. It was like what, anywhere from $10 to $15 million on this movie.
Yeah,
and it looked amazing. Looked a lot better than a lot of other stuff that come out of Hollywood.
Oh, dude, yeah, it looked incredible. I loved it. It was great. Definitely recommend it. So check that one out. And we also got Mr. Coffee brought up Jet Jaguar. Oh God, I can get into a long discussion on Jet Jaguar. I had a figure of him as a kid. Said I still own my original DVD release of Final Wars. Yep, I think I have mine too because there's a few that I kept. That movie means a lot to me because we went to go see it in the theaters and we had to kind of travel for it. We had to go like to the big city to go see it, and there was one theater showing it. It was like a whole event day, so it was like something that kind of stands out to me. But he said Jet Jaguar needs his own movie. I would watch that in a heartbeat. Pluto TV has a Godzilla channel. Pretty much leave that on my daughter. Loves it. Oh, that's cool. Actually, what's funny about Pluto TV, I just got invited to this Facebook group the other day about the cartoons. They got like a cartoon TV schedule they put out, and it's kind of cool. It's like a cool callback to like people actually watching like cable. Let's see. Let me see what it's called here. Pretty sure it was them.
Well, he said that I pulled it up. Apparently, on that Godzilla channel, Pluto TV, it's currently playing Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna try to look that up too. What's the Godzilla channel called? Just Godzilla channel?
Yeah, just Godzilla. I just googled it and it was like the first thing that popped up.
I'm like in Pluto TV, and they're showing Super Mario Brothers on the cartoon channel. I can't make this up. Super Mario Bros. 3. The cartoon?
Is that the cartoon?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember watching that.
Yeah, they're showing it right now. That's funny. Let's see. Godzilla, let's see. Yeah, that's a cool kind of callback. It's all like the first whole row of Pluto TV. That's pretty cool, man. I like that. You see our whole schedule with it. We got it. Some good ones coming up. Mothra versus Godzilla. Oh god, they're showing Son of Godzilla. And just 8 movies away. Yeah, that's pretty.
They need their whole lineup on how they're gonna play every single Godzilla movie.
It's gonna be like MTV, and it just plays Son of Godzilla 24/7. What else
That's
we got?
crazy.
But wasn't Manila just a dream inside that kid who? Yeah, it was just a dream. So it was like, what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like Link's Awakening, where it like doesn't really mean anything. 15 million. The whole -1 was cheaper than one episode of Disney Star Wars Acolyte.
Crazy.
Interesting. He said, I leave that on while I do chores around the house. That's like the kind of stuff I do. Just turn stuff on when I'm doing stuff. There's a lot of things that like I want to watch or whatever I throw on, and like I end up like not watching the movie. So I'm like, I'll watch it at some point.
It's more for like background noise at that point.
Yeah, that's why I just tend to like throw on YouTube videos or something where it's like informative, so I don't need to like look at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or a
Something
podcast.
that's more like some more audio focused.
Yeah, exactly. Do we overuse the terms toxic, review bombing, or modern audience, etc.? Do these even mean anything? I will definitely say on the toxic thing for sure, because I've pretty much said this before. That like people overuse that word now. Like they throw it on. It's a blanket statement for anything they don't like. Like I've heard it many times.
You criticize me. Oh, you're just toxic.
Exactly. Review bombing. Yeah, I could see that because a lot of people when a movie or game fails, it's automatically review bombed. We talked about that last week, right?
Maybe people just don't like it. And then it was most common with the Acolyte, like, oh, you're review bombing. It's like, if it was review bombing, the scores wouldn't stay down forever. They would eventually recoil with other people. But it's just like, nah, maybe you made something bad. People are saying this is bad, and you're like, you can't criticize anything I made for X, Y, and Z reason.
What do you mean on modern audience? I don't know about.
Like, I guess the idea if you hear like, oh, we're gonna reimagine this game for modern audiences.
Yeah, okay.
I guess that's kind of like the mindset.
Yeah, that's kind of with everything now, right? Like,
across the board.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think so. That the toxic one's ridiculous, and then the review bombing. It feels like a blanket statement for anytime anything does below expectations or not what they wanted to do, or you know, super fans of stuff. Oh, people just this, that, and they didn't like that. It's actually really good.
Yeah, people don't like it. They're trying to let you know in a very vocal way, this is bad. We don't like it. Don't do this again.
Yeah, I get it.
You don't have to do that one if you don't want to. Put that as a joke last week.
You put that on last week?
Yeah, all these were from last week.
Oh, okay.
That I put in here. We just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Because the
Direct.
Yeah, the Nintendo Direct like ate up the whole thing. Which we kind of knew it would.
Do you
want to ask it?
Is there even a way to answer that? How do we definitively know? Is Link or Zelda the bottom? It could be either way, right? Like, I mean, I can't even say it because then people will be like, "Oh, never mind."
All this tells me is you've never traveled the Zelda R34 forums.
No.
Yeah,
was that
it definitely should.
That website that got shut down, or is that Reddit?
No, you find this on Reddit. You can find this anywhere.
What's the one I'm thinking of that was like Reddit? It was pretty rough. It was around for like ever. They got shut down.
I don't know if it got shut down.
I swear to God, I thought I remember actually like reporting on that because it was just like not super long ago, like almost 2 years ago or something, maybe year and a half.
I can't think of what it is.
Yeah, I can't think. You know what I'm talking about, but it's basically.
I feel like
Reddit.
I do. I think it's still up. It's just they changed their rules to where you can't have. Explicit material on their site anymore is probably the best way to say it.
I had
everyone left the platform.
Never used Reddit until this podcast started. At least it was sometime after
it's not
I started doing videos.
I'm very picky about what I actually use Reddit for because I don't really care.
I use Reddit for like help with stuff because it's like the first thing that pops up anymore.
For any like questions. Troubleshooting things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you get into some communities on Reddit. Oh, it's a garbage space for any kind of fandom on that site.
There's a few that I've joined when like I've gone on for that stuff where I'll see like a little thing. I guess they're called subreddits that will like pop up below like a question I asked about something that's not even relevant. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting or whatever.
Are you Sorry, you're thinking of Tumblr? That's
No,
what I was thinking of.
no, but that
Which
was
was
one
already
too that
even
had
worse.
that was rough too. But no, this was
Oh, it was
something that was
terrible.
around forever. It was just like Reddit. Tumblr's like, I don't even know. I don't see it as much as a forum. It probably you would call it, but it seemed like more
It
social
used to be,
media,
probably.
right? It's
I
just
mean, they're
more
all
of
the same. A forum is just a different version of social media.
I saw it
See,
as
I
more
don't-
of like a thing after MySpace because that's what it tried to be, like a
You say
replacement.
older, but like I don't know what else is much older that's had
let's
any
see.
kind of relevance.
Oh, dude,
We got Habbo.
this was
we got
massive.
Windows Messenger.
This was a huge one because I heard about it all the time, but I just never once even went on it. People were pretty upset. Website.
But the site got shut down.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. I'm pretty sure
See,
reported on it on the
makes it even,
podcast.
that makes it even harder.
Unless I'm just
When did it?
completely wrong.
Nah, because I was going through one of Wikipedia's timeline of social media site just to kind of help,
Yeah,
but I have no idea.
it's like a gigantic just forum. As far as I'm aware, website like Reddit. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna get a whole rabbit hole of this, but
As a horror, I was trying to look, but like nothing, at least to me, seems
alternative.
I may have never even been to the site, to be fair.
This was they used to do. They used to all get together and like try to hack stuff too. Like it would happen all the time. It's like what took down PlayStation the
Are you
first
talking
time.
about? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's what that 20.
Are you thinking like 4chan?
Yeah, 4chan. That's what I'm thinking.
4chan's still around.
Is it?
Yeah, it's been around for forever.
I thought it got shut
It's
down.
4chan.
That's what I
I
was-
forget when it launched. 4chan launched in 2003. The site's still
Oh
around. You can go there
god.
now.
Oh god. Why'd you tell me to go there? That is not 4chan.com. That is. Do not go to that website.
No, it's 4chan.org.
Unless you're- Oh,
Just Google. Like I don't know why I didn't
go to
say
4chan.com.
I just said 4chan. I didn't say .com.
Go to
It's
4chan.com real
4chan.org.
quick.
No,
Why? You just asked
I'm
a
not
stupid
stupid.
question.
because I made that mistake before.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it's technically a
This
what is
looks
it,
like a horrible
like a-
website.
it's an image-based form. It's not changed since it
It
launched. in
doesn't look.
2003.
It doesn't look like it's changed once.
It looks like a site from 2003.
Definitely. Yeah, I haven't seen a website like this in a long
It's
time.
It's a very.
It reminds me of
interesting-
those. Did you ever use not free webs, but there was another one of that you could like basically make a free website, but it was like had the website. It had that website in the URL.
I can't. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the actual site
Man,
though.
Made several of them over the years. But it's kind of just terrible. Yeah, people are still actively using it today. Interesting. I thought it got shut down. Maybe I'm thinking of something else or got confused. But anyway, 4chan.
You lost me when you said, "Oh, it got shut down." I was like, "Oh, that didn't get shut down."
Yeah, I'm sorry about
But I can't
that.
think of anything more relevant.
Yeah, it's 4chan.
More often than not, it's just a trash. Like very rarely has the site actually done anything substantial.
But I
that
definitely know they used to like
affects anything
try to
that's
get
not on
people
the site.
together on 4chan all the time to like either attack stuff. I think that's where the review bombing started, right? Like when people were
Maybe. I mean, to
actually
be fair,
doing it.
You're either going to I think it's the B board, which is the general board, and you got the poll, which is the politically incorrect forums. Those are like the two big ones that would have probably done a lot of that stuff. Everything else is just random.
I think that's the reason
crap.
why because I never heard like anything a good reason to go to it.
If you don't even, because I wouldn't recommend going to the site, but the Internet Historian has done a handful of videos that involves 4chan.
Oh,
if you're
there's
interested
a
in some
whole
the stuff
bunch of
they've done.
4chan videos out there.
Yeah, I think Internet
Now-
Historian is probably the best, but
Who is
yeah,
it?
Go Internet Historian, the
Internet
YouTube
Historian.
channel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I go there with your own site. It's definitely not safe for work.
Do you
You've been warned.
do you think the Switch successor should have a stronger focus on multiplayer or co-op style games? I think that's what's lacking a lot, right? Besides,
Yeah,
like
because I
family
'cause I think the big-
couch kind of co-op with first party games,
Yeah, 'cause
like
I
do
think
it
they've got-
right.
They've got the games as single player, but because I brought up because like, well, the Switch's hardware is kind of crap. As far as when it's not the hardware, the infrastructure for
Yeah.
online play multiplayer, the fact that you have to use a
Oh, it's
phone
terrible.
to use in-game chat
That's
essentially. Like it's
still not
good.
fixed. Like by now
Well,
they should have like
it's
tossed that
not going
away.
to.
Yeah, that's really really dumb. Yeah, see that's the
I think that's
problem
like
with like Splatoon and stuff like that, where people have to
Yeah.
they got to go basically to Discord and talk there, which is dumb.
I think that's like the big thing that has to get fixed in whatever the Switch successor ends up, being is their online play needs to work properly like
Well,
every other platform does.
On top of that, I mean, if they do that, this will happen more, and obviously beef your hardware. It's gonna
help.
DSLR and all that stuff's gonna help, but they need to do that so they can get more third-party games over there. These multiplayer games, basically, to be able to do that stuff, because that's the reason why nobody, I know people that go in there, a lot of people, especially like Splatoon players, but we talked about that, what's it called? That, I don't even know if it's a Gears of War style game. I forget, like War something. I've said this before. And then we corrected another episode, and I forget again. But a lot of people still play that, and it's like, it's been there since the beginning. It's a multi-platform, I guess.
You thinking like Warframe?
Yeah, Warframe. Yeah, I know a lot of people that play that on Switch. But yeah, I mean, that's a problem with a lot of they bring in so many more third-party games. Because there's a lot of like smaller games we don't think about that are multiplayer-centric, and
yeah, I think it would just, at the very least, it would just help their own games be a lot,
it would
more accessible.
Splatoon 4, that's going to be a big thing, right? For that.
And
I
think
think
this point, it's almost guaranteed.
I think we're going to get a Splatoon 1, like, remaster or remake too, because there's a lot of content that got left in that game that didn't get brought over to Switch 2 or 3. A lot
Splatoon
did,
complete edition.
I can see it. I mean, look, we're getting we're going to be talking about it, and I think I didn't actually put it in the notes, but it's a big thing. We're going to be talking about where they're still doing that stuff. So, yeah, definitely. I guess we should go and dive into that, actually, now that I think about it.
Before we go right into it.
So, have you seen stuff about, there's a lot of people talking about it. I've seen some stuff in Facebook groups, but mostly on Twitter. A lot of people and a lot of big, Nintendo and just general gaming YouTubers tweeting about this, and that's how it first came on my radar, because I didn't see the pricing right away, but I saw it a few hours later, and there was already like a crap ton of stuff about it. Their pricing technique, there is no, how did somebody put it that I heard? There's no sort of general pricing on how they do these remasters in any way, because you've had stuff that's $60, $50, and $40. You've had the stuff that's cheaper be the stuff that's had real heavy work put into it, like real work, like Metroid Prime Remaster. And then you've got Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, is $60. Originally a $50 game on Wii. Then a better version of the game on 3DS was $40. Now we're getting brought over with no additional content except an HD coat of paint from a third-party developer. It's one of they outsourced it. It's not Nintendo doing it, and it's $60.
I think this just comes down to they're gonna price it based off what they think is gonna sell best. Like, if this is gonna sell a lot, they're gonna put it at a higher price, make more money. They feel like it's a small, because just be fair, Metroid's just not the biggest IP.
It's not.
Probably not gonna sell as many copies. Let's put it at a lower price tag that way, encourage people to buy this. Compared to, they probably feel like it's safe to price it that high. They're gonna it's gonna sell a lot of copies regardless, and people just aren't gonna care. Yeah, so I feel like it's just a case by case basis with Nintendo. Is like, okay, is this gonna sell a lot of copies? But we're gonna increase the price.
So for that one, I didn't, at least before podcast, didn't see it, but so for Wii, it sold a lot. It sold 6.53 copies. That one thing is, that was the Wii. It was a different era. It was a different time. That console is very unique. The Switch is in that way too, and that it just, anything that goes on it, no matter what, it sells more. It just does. There's more Switches out there. There's a lot of reasons that you could get on that, but you can put anything on there, it's going to sell more. However, this one's a little bit of an exception because it doesn't come out until, I think, February of next year. It's next year, January 16th of 2025. So it's coming out at the very tail end of the life cycle.
Yeah.
Like the Switch 2 by then, at the latest, is coming out in a few months. So to me,
but they've got the biggest install base on the Switch itself, which is going to probably be the primary platform it's sold on.
God, I just cannot see.
I feel like they just feel like it's
more
Switches. It's gonna sell.
See, it just feels like there needs to be some general guideline on, or like a something they have kind of set, because they've had them all over, and people need to kind of know what to expect with these. I feel like people should be able to know what to expect. Like, oh, they got this HD coming out.
Should be a full game.
I can tell you what, a lot of people are not happy about this one. So I'll be.
But how many of them are still going to buy it, though? That's the question.
Maybe.
Because if it still sells well, then it's a moot point, and they made the right decision.
I will 100% wait until I find this for use from somewhere.
Yeah, but you're not the target. It's the casual audience is what they're going to go after, and that's who they're banking on, who's going to buy a few million copies of this game.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I was at work. It just popped up. I got a notification and was going to pre-order it on Amazon when it popped up. But didn't end up clicking on it. I was busy. And then I forgot about it and saw the tweets first. After I was like, oh my God, that is a rough one. Like, the thing is, Luigi's Mansion 2 Remaster, which was also something I wanted to bring up because it just came out 2 days ago, is a little bit different in the fact they had to put quite a bit more work in it. So that one dropped to 60. I was like, that's stupid still, but not as bad as this one, because this is a 2D game from the Wii, and the pricing schemes before, those were set price points they had. Like everything on 3DS pretty much was $40. It's a $40 game. It's like, it's a handheld game. They added a bunch of new content. They did new stuff to it, and it's cheaper. I'll grab it here. It's cool. No new content. Just an HD coat of paint. It just rubs me wrong. It's another thing that rubs me wrong with them.
Feels like an easy way to make money.
It feels like a slap in the face is what it feels like to me. Because it's like, what are you doing? Like, you give some... I get, and we've looked at the sales of all the games, and it doesn't sell a lot, but my God, that game looks so good. Like, unbelievable. So good that is what they're using for Metroid Prime 4.
It just comes down to what they expect to sell. And so if they can make more easy money off a game that can supplement other games that might have more work, but they don't expect to sell as much, it's a trade-off that I guess they're willing to make.
Apparently. Do you plan on grabbing?
It's still gonna sell.
You plan on grabbing the new Luigi's Mansion game?
Probably not. I've never played the Luigi's Mansion, so why start now? Type thing.
Dang.
No, those games just never grabbed me, to be fair. So it's probably more than likely it's gonna be a no. But I'm probably not gonna pick up the Donkey Kong game either. But
it's a really good game.
I haven't played a Donkey Kong game since the one on the Super Nintendo. So
you haven't played Tropical Freeze either? No. Oh God, they're so good. It's a very good game. Tropical Freeze is even better. It's a perfected platform. If you think Mario's perfected, play that game. Like, it is a perfected platformer, but it's not for everyone. I get it, but I'm curious to see if this outsells. When I probably will forget and not see again, but.
Probably.
It's
like another 9 months away.
Yeah, the other thing about this is that, like, why are we getting? It's confusing me. Why aren't we getting another like a new Donkey Kong? Because we haven't gotten anything since Tropical Freeze, which came out in the Wii U, like mid-ish life cycle, maybe early.
I don't know. Maybe they just don't care. I don't know the exact numbers, but
it sells.
I don't know.
Apparently, gangbusters. Because I was looking at Donkey Kong sales, are pretty crazy. Like, a lot more.
I guess it comes down to, because wasn't Tropical Freeze developed by Retro?
Yeah. Retro.
I was like, well, if Retro is the primary developer for Donkey Kong, that kind of makes sense. Since around 2019, they got, here's a Metroid game. You're probably going to drop everything else you're working on. This is your new project.
Yeah.
So it could have been they were working on another game potentially, but once that came down, everything else got dropped, and they just haven't moved it to another studio, or maybe another studio is working on it. And it's just they don't want to release a brand new game on a console that's about to end.
Is
I
it,
think that part of it is the Switch's life cycle is over. You're not really going to see a whole lot of big games drop
no,
on it
I'm not
anymore.
expecting to. And like, I don't know. It's a little
At
weird to me,
least,
but I wanted to point out something kind of funny here. Like, you just type in the Donkey Kong Country HD. I didn't even type in returns. I forgot to, but the Bing AI, I've used Bing, like just auto comes up with stuff. It says key takeaways. Fans are criticizing Donkey Kong Country Return HD's $60 price tag. Uh, Donkey Kong games have historically been highly successful and have strong fan followings, but some players are unsure about the pricing for this remaster. This is the AI. Kind of funny. I didn't even read it until after, but that's pretty funny.
yeah.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Not something we control. I do feel like there should be like a general sort of guideline for their
I
pricing,
think the
mostly so
guideline
people know
is,
what to expect.
I think it's priced to, because I think I saw somebody else
Like you
commented
would a
before.
Call of
It's
Duty or any other
they
big
price
game.
these remasters, remakes, they're priced to sell. Like a Metroid Prime isn't going to sell gangbusters, so why put it at $60 and make its sales suffer even worse compared to Donkey Kong? Probably going to sell pretty well, so let's put it higher. That's just probably
Because
what it is.
I think it's rude. That's why.
I just don't think they care. They're targeting the children and the casual market that aren't going to pay attention, aren't really going to care. And I'm sure there's going to be enough content in the game that it's going to be decent enough. It'll be enjoyable enough to get several hours worth out of it at the very least.
Johnny in the chat said he's going to pass on Luigi's Mansion 2. Let me just point out too, I'm still mad that they removed Dark Moon from the title. I said, hey, let's just go with what the rest of the world had it called and just call it 2.
Yeah, you're not special anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh, Mr. Coffee said earlier. I'm sorry. I haven't seen the chat a bunch of times on here with so many tabs pulled up. But he was saying earlier, I use Reddit for deals and movie collection, and then also said, look at what's going on with multiplayer for current consoles. So much hate getting thrown around in chat. I think with that's just to be expected with humans.
That's just online interaction.
Yeah.
You're never going to get
It's
rid
like
of that
90
outside of
90%
getting
where
rid
you
of
go.
online interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it a reliable IP that sells? I mean, apparently, based on like the pricings that we've seen, he said those are Mario numbers. It's a lot higher than I would have expected. And one to point out, QVC usually has a day on all new release Switch games. They have a $20 discount on those type of deals. Yeah, I've ran out of emails I can use for that. I've used it on Super Princess Peach. I've used it on Super Mario RPG, and I used it on another first party Nintendo game I can't think of at the moment. But yeah, I have no more emails to use. But I highly recommend doing that because they're still doing it. I was like, dude, this game's for $40. Yeah, absolutely. Let me save $20. It's a great deal, and other people on the podcast have used it. I've spread it on to them. Like I definitely recommend it. It's cool. Didn't even know QVC still existed until I started seeing those deals pop up. It's like, here's a code for $20 off. Did you have any anime you wanted to mention this week before we move on?
I didn't have one kind of planned because of the
All right, Marky Mark
ship that we were
canceled
doing
his
with the
anime
podcast.
corner. He
No,
canceled it.
we kind of had some other stuff as far as like shifting up to other podcasts. So I didn't have anything kind of like prepped in time.
It was a flop.
Whatever.
Okay. All right. So there's only a couple things you had in here right now because I didn't pull anything else, but we've got. Yeah, so this one's a little bit interesting because there's a lot behind it, so I do feel like kind of need to I guess say all this correctly. I don't want to like misspeak on anything. I don't want to get sued. I could see it now. Like, dude, Nobody heard.
You going bankrupt?
YouTube. Okay, all right. First, I guess there was some drama going on with Doctor Disrespect. So, I saw it on like mainstream news first about this, and still didn't know what was going on exactly. But apparently, Doctor Disrespect's cancel got suspended for the YouTube partnership program. So that's his income, essentially. So might as well have lost your job. So he can't make any money on YouTube, ads, nothing. So they cut that off. So something definitely happened because they don't do that often, right? You know what I mean?
No.
They're like the big guys because he's bringing in people to YouTube all the time. He's big. So he had 4.7 million subscribers. This is the latest fallout from the revelation that Dr. Disrespect's 2020 Twitch suspension was due to inappropriate messages that he sent to a minor through Twitch's Whisper feature. See, I didn't even know about that because I don't know anything about the guy. Mark, you don't necessarily watch streamers either, you said.
I don't.
So we just aren't like the target audience for streaming, but he is big, like mainstream big. And their statement said, "We have suspended Dr. Disrespect's channel from the YouTube Partner Program following serious allegations against the creator." Prior to this, Turtle Beach ended its partnership with Dr. Disrespect, who was kicked out of Midnight Society, which isn't that like a shared channel or something for like a group of creators or something?
It might be. I'm not 100% sure on that, to be fair.
Yeah, I definitely heard of this, but it's not something I'm super familiar with. Dr. Disrespect's it's his studio. So it looks like cut ties after Twitch ban allegations. This was 4 days ago. So it looks like the start of this basically stems back from Twitch. And from my understanding, the couple of things that I heard was this was brought up by another large creator. Oh yeah, okay. So a couple days ago, popular online streamer Herschel Guy Beam. Oh no, that's Dr. Disrespect's name. I apologize. I thought that was the other guy. Several people have come forward to support Cody Connor's claim. So I'm trying to see who this is. I'm sorry.
No,
It's like a little confusing because I'm having to like really kind of dig. None of the articles are really okay.
Yeah,
so
it's like deal with him and some interactions a few years back with a minor, and it's coming to light. Even if nothing happened, it's still a bad look. But I mean, he's probably done regardless.
oh man, this is like really
But
confusing.
it looks like he potentially, did something at the at best in the gray area. At worst, it got pretty weird.
Yeah, I pulled up this, forwarded me to a Reddit, Asmongold's Reddit. And it said Cody Connors, who leaked Dr. Disrespect's ban reason, is current. Oh, so it wasn't like out there apparently. He's being currently called out for tweets he made in the past stating that if shows of his sold out, he would leak the reason for the ban. Some are saying he did it for fame and to sell tickets. So I don't know. There's a lot to it. So I say go out there and if you're interested to research it a little bit. But yeah, kind of crazy. It mostly came on my radar because YouTube doesn't do that often, especially with the big people.
Yeah.
So they think it's serious, and yeah, interesting stuff.
At the very least, say that they need to protect themselves as a business, regardless of whether it's true or it's an accusation or stuff like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is a business. So it's when they've got all these advertisers on their website, the advertisers are going to leave. We don't want that because all of us consume a lot of YouTube. So
that's what they use to make money, pretty much.
Yeah, it's it's like commercials on TV.
Yeah, not enough people have YouTube Premium for it to not matter.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, exactly. You know how that actually works, though? with YouTube Premium. So
YouTube gets the money.
yes, but essentially, like the advertisers that would have played during that video, they still get that money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if it was supposed to come on, like the algorithm knows, however it's set up, that ad was going to play, that advertiser still gets the money. So YouTube gets money, so however much that advertiser would have got paid minus everything else. So that's how it works. So it's like it's still playing basically, and that's kind of how the ads work. Like as far as because if like there would be a problem if like I guess a lot of people had YouTube Premium for advertisers. It would be a problem. They would be, oh, okay, like 40% of people, are using YouTube Premium. Why am I paying? Why am I paying you for these ads?
A lot of people, at least if it's on desktop, are using ad block to not see your ad to begin with. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So Mark, you said you were pretty pumped for this, right? Multiple Assassin's Creed remakes are in the works, including potentially Black Flag. You said you were pumped for this?
I guess. I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed fan, to be fair.
Are you not the one that was defending the original Assassin's Creed? Because I don't like 1 and 2 at all. I don't like that style.
I didn't think they were that bad. I'm not a fan. I haven't played these games in like 8, 9, 10 years, but they weren't terrible.
I absolutely hate Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. Absolutely hate that type of game. I think it's horrible. So I don't
all have. Oh, I don't, but it's okay to have a wrong opinion.
You were going to say that. No, Black Flag would be awesome though. I mean, most people will say that's peak Assassin's Creed. Have you played Black Flag?
I haven't. No.
It's a really good, legitimately a very good game.
I know about the game. Yeah.
It's a blast.
I think that's the one where it's like the ideal of like what they were hoping Skull and Bones would be is just like the pirating or the ship portion of that game, which ended up not being in like at all.
Yeah, and you know what sucks is that like that could have worked if they actually did that right. Like if anybody
didn't.
Yeah, they made everybody not care, kind of from the jump, because the game got like canceled and then it wasn't canceled and then like it got delayed like I don't know how many, like 5-6 times, something like that. Then people learned about who was behind the game, like all that stuff. It's like, oh, I'm out.
Blew up.
This is an online only game. My information is getting sold. No, but I think Black Flag, that makes total sense. I saw it coming with Black Flag for sure, but I'm curious though on the remakes of like 1 and 2 and like that style. I don't remember if like the third game that came out. So wasn't it what is the third game? Wasn't it called something else, like another subtitle?
Assassin's Creed?
Was it Unity that was 3?
Can't remember. I was trying to pull it up.
Yeah, I can't remember what. I think there was actually an Assassin's Creed, but then it was Unity that came out before that, right? Like I'm talking about like time of release.
I think it's just Assassin's Creed 3. Because I'm not seeing a subtitle for it.
Okay, well, whatever. All of them that were in that style. I don't think 3 is in that style because I'm pretty sure I like this one. Yeah, this wasn't in that style, right? No,
because it has to deal. Assassin's Creed 3 deals with the American Revolution?
Yeah, this wasn't that style. Okay, so I really like this game. This and Black Flag and I think Valhalla are the only 3 that I've like extensively played in like beats. So I'm not like the biggest Assassin's Creed fan or anything at all. There's a lot of them I haven't even played, so it might be cool to see. I'm just curious on if like, because basically that last Assassin's Creed came out was in that old style, right? I can't remember what it's called. See, like that's how much I'm tuned out of the. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure with Origins they restarted like how the games just completely worked.
Yeah, but I'm almost positive that last Assassin's Creed that came out was intentionally in that style. It was also a $40 game, and it's a new game that's like its own. I think like that was Mirage. I think it was like intentionally supposed to
Oh,
be like the
yeah.
original Assassin's Creed games. I haven't played it. I haven't looked at any gameplay of this, but I think that's what it was like supposed to be. But I'd be interested to see how that style kind of do now. I don't know. Maybe people would love it for all I know. Pretty tuned out, it
Give it a
seems.
shot and see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see Black Flag come back around, let some new people experience it. I did pull a game for this week, so I was gonna pull the physical one. I forgot to do it, but the Orange Box. So this was a game that I got back in the day, on the Xbox 360, and one of the few games I still have that I actually had from that time. Like, it's the one I had. Um, this was a really cool game because basically it's just a compilation of games, and it's the first time had seen Portal or Team Fortress 2 or any of these games. Like, they were PC games essentially on the console. They were a compilation of Valve games, and it was really cool because at the time we didn't really get stuff like that, where stuff was kind of exclusive to PC. Like, it's the first time I got to try Half-Life or Half-Life 2. I thought it was really cool, and like still to this day, Portal is some of my, even Team Fortress 2 as well, are some of the multiplayer greats, like just timeless, like ones that you can go back to. I went back to it not super long ago, and I think they're both like still really fun. I would love to see those two games specifically return. Of course, Half-Life is great as well. I just thought like they really did that. They're unique. They're very unique. Have you played any of the games on Orange Box?
Played Portal. The first one, that's the only one. I've not played Team Fortress 2 or anything like that. Or Half-Life for that matter.
Half-Life's good, but I have, kind of limited experience with it because this is all I've played. But
it's also like when the game came out as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't help it.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool, so I recommend checking it out. It's not super expensive for physical. I was looking at like the price of them now. Looks like there's one on eBay right now for $30. I think it's definitely worth it. I feel like this one that will eventually probably shoot up in price too when that store closes, which is just around the corner. So just a reminder on that.
Well, I guess if you don't want the physical,
you
get the Orange Box digital on Steam right now. It's 90% off for $2 during their summer sale.
$2? That's definitely grab it. It's cool. I didn't even know it actually came out on PC. Like,
it's a Valve. Valve owns.
Yeah,
Steam.
but the games are already on PC.
Yeah, but you can't physically. That came out like 20 years ago. Physical. Like, this is digital now.
No, what I mean is like these games by themselves are already on PC, so I didn't know they made a compilation for PC too, if that makes sense. Like, they're already PC games on PC, so I just didn't know they put them together as a PC game too. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean they're so old. They long since made their money.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I don't know when it got published on there, but no, it's been there for a while.
Yeah, it looks like EA UK worked on development, and then it was published by EA. So came out in 2007, October 9th, 2007.
As well as, if you're relevant, the Steam summer sale is technically going on now through July 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So
have you picked anything up on there?
I think I picked up 2 games that were on sale. It was Tales of Arise and something else, just because it was like pretty marked down.
I wonder how good the PC port of that is. Tales of Arise.
It's okay. It's definitely, you can tell it's built for a PlayStation controller. But I mean, it plays it okay. It's one of those rare occasions, like, it's probably better to play with the controller on PC, but you could technically play it either way.
Yeah, I feel like I would I don't know, I'm sure that it like works fine. Games like that, I want to play with a controller typically. I don't know,
It's what they were designed around, and I think it shows, especially when you play it.
And then if it's just one of those games where I feel like I would prefer it with a controller myself, but I feel like thinking about controlling it now. Picky. I mean, you don't really have to be anymore. All these controllers, they all work on PCs, so
yeah,
it's nothing now. Okay. You want to move over to the couple other things that we have in the other
No,
department?
yeah, we can.
All right.
You want to talk about was it the I can't speak, but my tongue's still active.
He was like doing something there.
Yeah, right. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power showrunners on Sauron's Season 2 Rise. Sorry, I'm taking a drink of water.
Oh, you're good.
If you've watched the movies, you kind of already know what happens, and/or if you read the books. But apparently, Season 2 is supposed to focus a little bit more on essentially Sauron's initial rise to power, which makes more sense with the rings and everything else going on. Can't say So the Season 2 will premiere on Prime Video on August 29th. So long probably since been done with filming, and it's all in post-production right now, and in about 2 months you'll be able to stream it all and binge watch it if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't the biggest fan of the first season, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I feel like for me, this is also just like Star Wars, because for me it was always, I don't know what it was, but it was always like there was like a big three for me. It was always Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That were, I don't know what it was, but for some reason I always like compiled those together in my brain as a kid. They were like the big three, untouchable. You could do no wrong, you know what I mean? Until like episode 1 came out for Star Wars. And
yeah, no, but also, like Mr. Coffee said, these aren't based off the books, and it definitely shows. It's inspired by type thing, which means they wanted complete creative control to do whatever they wanted.
You're telling me you can go back
it shows.
And ask Token what to do? You said it before the podcast, not me. I've never heard anybody say that. Tolkien.
Tolkien. It's always been Tolkien.
Yeah,
Token.
You said that before the podcast.
That was a South Park reference I thought you were bringing up.
That's what.
Or Token.
That is what I was bringing up.
Tolkien to be his name.
That's what I was bringing up.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
You said it earlier. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm tuned out ever since The Hobbit came out for Lord of the Rings. Like those 3 movies, God, they're dreadful. I think they're miserable movies.
A book that's like a third the size
didn't even
of like
need
the
to
Fellowship
at all.
One movie.
One movie. That's right. Nowhere near as big as the books. And it's like, why are you making 3 movies on this? So literally is walking these whole movies. Like the joke that people always say about The Hobbit, it's like you're dragging these out to like 2-hour movies. Like, holy God.
Yeah, no. Like one 3-hour movie could have done the whole book, perfectly fine.
Yeah, same length as the other
added
films.
Content. Yeah, it's just not. I know why they did it for more money, but it made a worse product at the end of the day.
Yeah, it made me not ever want to watch those again.
Was it the
anime movie
from like the 70s or 80s?
Yeah, way better.
Does it a whole lot better.
Yeah, and that's like, what is that, like 30-some minutes, 40 minutes or something? It's like it's not like a long animated movie either, I don't think. Pretty sure it's like one of those ones that's under an hour. But
I want the remake.
I like that and the Lord of the Rings
the
movie from
77 film.
There weren't no animated movies from back then over an hour.
Yeah, I bet.
There was? I can't think of
it's 78 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I stand corrected. But yeah, no, watch that for sure, because if it doesn't, that's, I feel like 2.5 hours max, maybe, to me. Like 3 hours, maybe. But my God, I would even be miserable with that, because
I mean, it's not the movie's kind of aged in a lot of ways.
There's not a lot to tell in The Hobbit.
It's just realistically, story of the only important thing that actually happens in The Hobbit of any importance is how Bilbo comes into possession of the One Ring.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only thing of consequence that actually happens, and the rest of it is, hey, we get through this forest, now we're gonna, obviously the Battle of 5 Armies happens after the fact, but we're gonna reclaim this dell for the dwarves because the dragon moved in because we're greedy and a bunch of gold and dragons love gold, and trying to defend both the gold and everything else, get rid of the dragon and stuff like that.
You see what Mr.
And
Coffee said
obviously,
in the chat?
what?
Look at his last.
The Tell Me Own Story for modern audiences, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh man.
But I remember reading The Hobbit when I was it middle school, high school, or something like that when I actually read it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really good book.
I feel like I read it in 5th or 6th grade, and I feel like you definitely read it. You definitely read it before then, because I can specifically remember going over to your house many times. We both really liked Lord of the Rings. I learned about Lord of the Rings from you. I don't know if you remember that, but
I read the book and did
we were
some
kids.
paper on it.
We were
yeah,
we were. It was definitely before middle school, because I feel like we wouldn't have talked about stuff like that as much. And I remember going in there. I remember your book exactly. My book was taking the Return of the Kings, a scene from Return of the Kings, and was like all put into one book, and that's how I read it. Obviously they were separated in the book, but it was one gigantic freaking book, and that was what I had. That's one thing, I've never put on my list to ever look for again. I think it's just because I've literally never seen that again. That specific one I had. I'm pretty sure it was a scene from Return of the Kings, but that's what it was. It was just those movies were out, and my grandma bought it for me. I want to say it was several months before Return of the King came out, so I read it after the second movie is what I feel like happened.
Yeah.
I feel like Return of the King was about to come out, and she bought me The Hobbit at the same time, and that was separate. I was like, didn't have, obviously, it was just The Hobbit, or There and Back Again. Is that right? That's
The Hobbit.
title.
It's The Hobbit. There and Back Again, A Tale by Bilbo Baggins. Though the actual book's not written from a first-person point of view.
Yeah. Mr. Coffee said The Hobbit was a children's short story. Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
it pretty much was.
And it was kind of like retconned into the greater Lord of the Rings mythos.
Yep.
But I still think it fits. It's all still high fantasy. It's just a different take on it.
Definitely.
And I guess technically
way
because
less
it's
like action. It was more story focused.
It's 60, 70 years before the Fellowship takes place, something like that.
Something like that.
Middle Earth was still technically, it was still changing. It was still like a quiet place. Like a lot of these other creatures hadn't really risen because Sauron really, I don't think he had really come back to power. I don't know. It's been a hot second since I've read it, a lot of these books, but
so we have a
question.
It was
more of just like regular day-to-day stuff. Yeah.
Was there a Transmorphers version of Lord of the Rings?
I don't think so.
I bet there is, because I don't know when the Asylum started, but Return of the King came out, what, like 2007? I think the movie. That sounds about right to me. I'm just guessing here. 2007 is one.
No, 2003.
Oh, Jesus. What am I? Way off. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it could have been way before the Asylum started, but I mean, that's up their alley to do something like that. What's the alternate title for the Asylum? What would they call it?
No idea.
King of the Rings? God of the Rings or something like that? Lord of the Circles. Any of those work. Take any of those titles. Give it to you free, Asylum. I just want to see the movie.
The Atlantic Rim. There you go.
Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible. I remember seeing that one at the store. Crazy.
The Da Vinci Treasure.
You got like really stupid stuff. Just dive into their catalog sometimes. Crazy. And then you put, what do we got here? Oh, before that, Godzilla Kong is set to release for Max, and it's coming out soon. So that is supposed to be coming out on July 4th. So that's just a few days from this. So probably right when the audio drops, and a few days from the live. Which is interesting. It's coming out on July 4th. It's kind of interesting. And also, on top of that, just before the podcast started, Legendary announced that the new MonsterVerse movie is set for March 26th, 2027. So we've got actually quite a bit of wait for the next MonsterVerse movie, which is surprising based on their like pipeline of movies.
You don't want to oversaturate the
No,
market.
you don't.
It's a problem.
And I think that's right for them to do. I feel like though that is also going to be pretty close to the Japanese Godzilla comes next too, because it's going to take them less time, even though they've got a lot of money put in those movies too. It's still going to take them less time than it is a Hollywood blockbuster like this with a lot of CG and.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on in those movies, even though there are a lot. Like popcorn flicks. There's still a lot going on. Yeah. They got to work around a lot more. I feel like so. Wolverine frontrunner emerges to succeed. Hugh Jackman is Logan, and
yeah. So I think it was rumored that Taron Egerton emerges as a top contender to potentially succeed Hugh Jackman. Obviously, a lot of this is just like a lot of rumors and stuff like that. If you don't know, I think he's most famous for his the Kingsman movies. If you ever seen those,
I have, but I don't remember the guy. Oh, okay, I see him.
He's like the dude that gets recruited into that organization.
Those are good movies too, by the way.
Yeah,
really good movies.
Don't know how I feel about him, just because I've only ever known Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he does such a good job at it, but.
I mean, he is like what, almost 70 or something. He's like,
yeah, it's like eventually someone's gonna have to replace him for these movies. He can't just keep coming back for forever. So eventually, someone else is gonna have to step into this role.
He's only 55. I thought he like hit his 60s. So, but yeah. I mean, how much longer? Realistically, 55. I mean, how much longer can you play Wolverine? I mean,
you probably do another 20 years, probably if you really wanted to, if you stayed in shape.
20 years,
stayed healthy. It's possible. Then he would actually become Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
IRL.
I mean, he can do it now, honestly. You just dye the hair a little more than what I see in this picture, and you're good.
Yeah, I assume this is going to be his last role as Wolverine, but I don't know. Maybe they're going to reveal the new Wolverine at the end of the movie. Who knows?
Let me ask you.
Doubtful, but.
Does, I can't think of his name. Iron Man. What's his name? Plays Iron Man. I can't remember. Gosh, it's been a long day. Robert Downey Jr. I don't know why I can't remember. I feel like an idiot. You think he comes back at all? He's got to, right? I feel like he has to for something.
I don't know. Does Disney even want to bring back Iron Man anytime soon? Like, what more do you do with him? Like his arc's already done.
You could have said that about Wolverine too. That's why I bring it up. Like,
yeah, but Wolverine's had so many like split timelines. Like, I don't even know what's.
I mean, Logan already came out. Like, yeah, I know. Like, where are we at? Because Logan came out, and then that was supposed to be like Old Man Logan, essentially.
Yeah,
like a cowboy.
It feels like Hugh Jackman decided, like, no, I want to keep doing this. I changed my mind.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's a paycheck, right? Like they offered him enough money.
Yeah, but he's still to enjoy and has to have a want to actually come back and do it.
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr., I don't know if you've ever heard him speak on playing Iron Man again, but he was on like Joe Rogan. He was on some like bigger talk shows. I've heard a bunch of like different compilations and stuff he's talked about, but Joe Rogan, obviously he's got enough time there, went pretty extensively into it. And if I remember correctly, basically said he has no desire to play Iron Man again. He wants to pursue other things, but I mean, if the money's there, like,
I mean, the easiest thing is to just recast him, and then Robert Downey Jr. just does other things at that point.
At this point, these guys are only taking roles to have their great grandkids taken care of, right? So
they've already made their money.
Yeah, they made it. Hugh Jackman made his 10, 15 years.
What's that? End Game.
Dude,
he made probably a boatload off that.
What did that sell like? That sold over $1 billion, right? Something crazy. Right. Some crazy number. Or not Endgame, sorry.
Endgame grossed
the one before that.
Endgame grossed $2.799 billion worldwide.
Jeez.
That's just what it grows. I don't know what the
Yeah,
net
but
take home was because I don't know how much it costs to produce. But
net's still over 2 billion, right? I mean, it's not 700
at least over $1
million to
billion.
work with there.
Yeah, I don't know how. The budget was on the high end 400 million. So yeah, they net over $2 billion on that movie.
Yeah, easy. I was actually thinking of Avengers, the one right before that is what I was thinking of, because that one, I I guess probably didn't do more, but I thought that it might have. Could have been wrong. I was really excited for Endgame to come out. I remember that because I feel like that's where Marvel really like I was pretty good with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love Marvel, so like I want to see other stuff happen, and that's fine. But like they made a lot of weird moves. But for me, like with the movies, like I haven't been, and that's what came out in 2019. So I've been kind of checked out since then. Honestly, I've been pretty checked out. Like
I know a lot of people like after that whole event, they were like, all right, I'm done.
it was like a big thing too, right? Like it felt like a kind of cultural event. Like what, like
I feel like after that they probably should have taken a break from Marvel as a whole.
I feel like they would have benefited from that, but there's been no breaks because I can't even imagine. I know how many things I've missed, and it's been like 15 things since then. Like counting all the MCU stuff, like
but it's
TV.
like
it's been like 15 TV shows and movies I've missed or something.
But it's like lesser characters that just don't have the name and the draw power that something like Captain America or Iron Man does. Those are like your headliner Marvel characters.
Yeah, no, I agree. What's crazy is that like that wasn't ever the case for Marvel in the comics. Iron Man was never a big character. He wasn't like people weren't attached to him. Yeah, he wasn't like it just wasn't. Nobody ever mentioned Iron Man. He's obviously entwined in a lot of the stories, but so were tons of other superheroes all tied into these stories. And Iron Man just wasn't like this big guy. They tried for years to do it. They made a cartoon of Iron Man. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, somehow they did it with the movie because
where his briefcase was a suit. Do you remember that? His briefcase turned him into the suit.
I don't.
In the cartoon.
No, but I don't know. Maybe Disney made the right decision when they're like, all right, we're going to start this whole movie series with Iron Man, and then we're going to go from there. Though I don't know, without Robert Downey Jr., I don't know if it would have been as successful.
I agree. I mean, people just really attached to him. He was very charismatic. With he had to have made probably the biggest comeback in Hollywood ever. Because I don't know if you remember, he was not doing good for a long time. Was in jail and had already been acting for quite some time and a big name. He had to have like the biggest comeback ever I can think of.
He's done a lot of good movies since, that's for sure.
Yeah, he has. He's done a lot of good stuff. He's very diverse. Did you like the Sherlock Holmes movies?
I like the first one. I didn't care for anything
I felt
else
the same way.
that.
I felt the same way. I watched them.
It was a good one-off, but like as a series of movies, it's just
that's how I felt. I felt like they didn't need to do that, but I mean, Sherlock Holmes is like it's like a long-running series, but I was like, I just felt like they didn't capture the same thing they did with the first movie, and you could feel it felt like, oh yeah, they want to turn this into a long-running series, and it just didn't work.
It's like at that point, it would be better as a TV series at that point because it's kind of like the whole villain of the week type thing is what you're gonna start dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Nothing super major. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to hit up.
I don't think so. I think we're good. Pretty good episode though.
No, yeah, definitely really good. Obviously, fairly really soon we've got the anime podcast coming out. So whatever we were doing here is getting kind of laterally transferred and stuff like that. So definitely look forward to that. Make sure you hit off all the socials down the link below. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. So all the IG as well and stuff like that. Definitely appreciate all your support. Leave us a like, leave a comment down below, and let us know what you think. Definitely. Anything else that you had, before we head it out, Brandon?
Nope, that's a good closing. We will see you all again next week, and next week is 4th of July, right? I feel like there was
Yes.
something else happening. Okay, I feel like there's something else
Yeah.
happening
Well,
that I wanted
next Friday's the 5th, so the 4th of July will be the Thursday before next Friday.
Okay, cool.
So.
Okay, yeah. So we will see you guys all day after 4th of July then. Have a good night, everyone.
Definitely.